This is a Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group podcast. This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes. It contains few facts, little wisdom, and no epiphanies. It is merely the opinions, guesses, and hypotheses of the host. All right. Hey, welcome
Hey,
to another The Bigfoot Atheist Inquiry Sasquatch Random Live. This is number 14 by our new count.
ooh, 14.
And we're just winging it tonight. I didn't have anything special, but I had a good portion of the day off, and with me I have my good friend Brent from the Tall Ones.
What's
Uh,
up?
he was free, so I was like, yeah, hell yeah, join in on the fun, man. It'll make it all that more interesting. So let's see, we got 23 people popped in here already. Well, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Ooh,
So I see Sasquatch Wizards and around X Jonathan. He was in here first. And he said he was live in two. I think that's what he meant. Live in two. Hope all is well. Chat in the show. All right. Well, glad. Hopefully he's in here now. Jen said she'd be back at 7. Well, it's 7, so she should be back. Hello to Jen. Mr. Lee 3PO. Hey, buddy. What's up? How you doing? Cindy Finn. Cindy Lou Who says, are we there yet? That was a question I heard, and I was explaining to Brent how yesterday, Thursday, was kind of a clusterfuck with the way the flights went and shit. And I had to take that whole day off. But we were headed out to the reservation to grab the cheap smokes because she had time before I had to drive her to Buffalo. And so we were out, and that's all I heard as we were headed out to the reservation was, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" It was like a Simpsons episode with Bart and Lisa.
well,
Back. Are we
you
there
know,
yet?
you know what you need to do in a situation like that is you need to have a specific song. Like when the kids start acting up in the car, I have like a specific song, which is that Vitas the Seventh Symphony, which is an amazing song to quiet somebody, and
Yeah.
just start playing that, and they'll know instantly because I'll play that song over and over if they keep going. So and it's an annoying song, so it's just like boom, like that. Something to
That's
think of.
funny. That's funny. Yeah. Hey, Gary Johnson's here too. And Icon sees Mr. No. Hello, sir. Welcome. Glad to see you. There's Jen. She's in here. Eyes in the Woods. Hello, my dear. Welcome. Welcome. Glad to see you. Oh, the Bookwash crew of BC. Hello, Jerry. I love it. He says, nothing I love more than meaningless conversation. Give it to her, Joe. That's right. Hey, look, Jerry, I'm going to end up putting the link in the chat. So anybody that's in the chat, you can join me and Brent up here. And, we'll talk about, Bigfoot mostly, probably, I'm sure. But, what about Bigfoot are we going to talk about? I don't know. We'll find out. And I'm sure it'll end up being interesting. Hey, Joe Dryden's here. All right, Joe, welcome. I'm glad to see you. Um, let's keep going on down here. Kevin Harder. Hello, Kevin. Welcome back, my friend. I'm glad to always see you here. That's really cool. Um, yeah, I know. There's some people I saw somewhere in somebody's chat. They were talking about the way hosts, and not all of us do it, but a good majority of us say hello to everybody first, right? And they were saying, oh, it takes forever to just say hello to everybody. Well, it's like that's okay though. I like doing it because it's acknowledgement of the people that are taking time out and coming into chat to listen to me flap my gums about whatever or nothing. There's Angel Nolan. Hello, Angel. Welcome. Uh, what else? What else? What else? Who else? John Ayers, the Salt Man. There he is. Hi, John. Tom Thaler. Hello, Tom. How you doing? Uh, yeah, that's okay, Tom. I understand that. He says, "Hey, everybody. Sorry, I've missed a few shows. Work issues." Yeah, I hear you, man. I understand the work issue thing, man. Trust me. Jay Fritz, Mr. Jay Fritz. Hello, Jay. How you doing, sir? Always good to see you. Mr. Danny Staten is giving us greetings from South Carolina. Hello, Danny. How are you? Sharon. Hello, Sharon. Uh, hi, Joe and Brent, she says. Former everything. There he is. Hello, Former. How you doing? Glad to see you. Have I gotten everybody now? I'm going to keep going till I get to the bottom. I'm going to keep going till I get to the bottom. Just in case. I don't see Donald yet, but he'll probably pop in here if he's not already here. I might not have made it to his name yet for all I know. There's Alan. Hey, Alan. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, Alan. All right, so that's everybody, man. So yeah, just winging it, right? So I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? I was off for most of the day, right? I was having a hard time, right? So at first I was like, okay, how am I gonna do this? I couldn't get the cat to the vet yesterday because I had to get the wife to the airport, and they only had a spot open for 11 o'clock in the morning, and we're like, that's not gonna work. So then my wife is like, well, you're gonna have to do it tomorrow morning, and I'm like, shit, that means I got to take more time off of work. But I managed. It didn't turn out too bad, actually. I got up this morning because I'm used to waking up like at the crack of dawn anyway, and so I wake up and I'm like, well, what am I gonna do, man? But so I'm like, well, I'm already got a thought in my head. I'm gonna take the entire day off. So I'm sitting here drinking coffee and I'm having coffee and I'm like, man, this is really bugging me, man. Look at all this time I'm wasting here, man. I mean, I got to call the vet at 8 because that's the thing, right? That was the thing. We had to call exactly at 8 when they first opened in order to be able to try to get a slot real quick. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, God, it's like 5:30. And usually I schedule myself from 6:30 until about 3:30 in the afternoon, right? When I'm working. And it's like 5:30. I'm like, well, I'm not going to make it by 6 o'clock, but I bet I could make it by 7. And then at 8 o'clock, I'll go ahead and I'll call the vet. And if they can get me in, then I'll stop my dash and then I'll run home, grab the cat, and then bring her back, right? Because I got to be in Canada. So I did get to, long story short, I did get to work for a few hours. I worked till about 9:30 in the morning, but I got there pretty early. I actually got there by about 6:30 and immediately started getting orders. So it kind of was like, damn, man, today's a busy day too. And I can't work all day. I could have made some really good money probably today, but I got to work till 9:30, which, I made some pretty good money just in those few hours from between 6:30 and 9:30. Then I had to rush back here, grab the cat, took her to the vet, took her all the way back to Canandaigua, took her to the vet. They saw her, they gave her some medication, and I don't know where she's at now, but I think she's oversleeping. I think she's going to be better. She got a little respiratory thing going on. The vet says she thinks that it's cat scratch fever. And I know it's a Ted Nugent song, guys, but it's an actual thing, cat scratch fever. It's caused by fleas, and she's an indoor cat, so she doesn't go outside. So, and I haven't seen any fleas in the house, but it doesn't mean that, there couldn't have been one on her or something because the dog goes outside. But, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so I think she's feeling a little better now.
That sounds like a real catastrophe.
Yeah, it was, man. It was. Hey, Tristan, here. I see everybody saying hello to Tristan. And there's Jonathan
Hey,
back.
hey,
So
Tristan, remind me later, dude. I got to send you some a really cool design that I came up with lights. That's really cool, waterproof and remote. Very cool.
oh
Very cool. It's actually very cool. Very, very cool.
yeah. So yeah, the whole thing now about in the description I put, there's just some stuff that I don't really care anymore, and it's like it's all the stuff, online. I don't
What don't you care about?
I don't really give a shit about all the stuff. I don't even watch it anymore, really. About the only thing I will watch is if somebody from our group, well, as Leon says, maybe the Honey Badger Network. Um, if somebody suggests that I watch one of those people, say, "Hey man, you should watch this," I'll probably watch that. But as far as all the rest of it, trying to see what's the new hoax that Colorado Bigfoot came up with, or any of the hoaxers out there, I'm not interested in that anymore. As far as I'm concerned, we got some good people on the project right now. You and Nikki and Steve, and I mean, you guys are you can be pointing it out, and we understand. Probably not going to change anybody's mind that are sunk into being followers of these people, but that's not your point, and I understand that, but it's just that the information is out there, right? Just making sure that, hey, if anybody wants to see it, here's the information for you. So just, take it for what it's worth. So I don't feel like I need to really pay attention to that much, because it just gets on my nerves, and then the rest of it, yeah, I think it's just, I don't know, it's just people having fun, and that's okay. Because
Hmm.
sometimes I could probably watch something and get a good laugh out of it at least, if it's not something that was done for malicious purposes or, underhanded purposes or whatever. So, um, and one of the only reasons I'm still doing these, like a podcast every now and then is because of the people in chat, the people that have been following me. I do it because otherwise, you know what? I think I'd probably stop. I'm not saying I would stop looking out there. I wouldn't quit the subject of Bigfoot entirely. Of course not. No. Uh, I would just stop with all the online stuff and concentrate on just doing my thing. And then if I come up with something I'm interesting, I would, but I do these things because, I got people out there that like to, for some reason, hear me run my mouth, um, especially with guests, and I feel like I owe something to them because those are the people that when I was in desperate freaking need, I reached out to them and they helped me out. So I owe it to the people that follow me to at least, ignore all that other bullshit and just have fun with this.
Hmm.
And so yeah, and I think
Well,
we're gonna get into this too, but go ahead, say what you were gonna say.
well, I think it's all about what brings you happiness and what you want to attract in your life. And there is a lot of negativity and that's associated with like hoaxing and the shenanigans and stuff like that. But this is such a dynamic subject that there's so much more that you can do in it. And because I don't really want to be just like a hoaxer guy or whatever like that. There's a lot more different things I like to be interested in the subject. I'm hoping other people will fill that void to like be like, hey, let's start doing all that different stuff. And but yeah, that's what it is. It's all about finding your happy medium where you're at in life right now. And I encourage that. And it sounds like you are going through the different steps of your journey in life, because I was at the same way we all are, where
Yeah,
we like those podcasts, we like the that different aspect of it, but we kind of grow out of it because
yeah,
we our values change, our goals change, and that's okay. That we're allowed to do that. So I definitely encourage it. It sounds like it's a good, healthy place you're going. So
absolutely.
kudos to
Yeah, I
you.
mean, exactly. I mean, because I mean, I don't mean to be like, I don't want to like, um, my old brain. I can't think of words sometimes, and I'm actually fairly intelligent people. I really am. But I don't want to like uh, lead anybody astray by saying that I'm not watch. I do still watch some certain podcasts. Sure, I do. Right.
Hmm.
So like I watch Nikki's podcast. I watch, when Dave comes on, I watch Dave. I watch Jeff. I watch, So I am watching some podcasts. I'm just not paying attention to most of the, the people out there that are either just out there putting it up online as a fun thing, and they got a bunch of people that follow them, and they're all having fun about, oh, look at that Bigfoot's right around that tree, and I see 5 other dog men in there, and whatever, cool. Or you have
The LARPing aspect, yeah,
but
LARPing.
yeah, the LARPing stuff, the and then the outright hoaxers. Of course, I don't pay attention to them now, because they got nothing to show me, but I do watch podcasts, and I will probably continue to do that because I enjoy watching those people. Because I at least know with them, I'm not getting smoke blown up my ass, And I'm fond of saying it, and everybody knows. Please don't try to blow smoke up my ass because I'm not a chimney, man. I'm really not. So yeah, I still watch the podcast. Now, when you were talking about, you were saying, well, you didn't really want to be that, kind of the guy who calls out the hoaxers and stuff. Um, I thought that led right perfectly into the other thing I want to talk about. I thought your idea of coming out with a separate channel was nothing short of brilliance, man.
No,
Because
thanks.
then you can deal with all of that there, and you can keep your own channel for more of your research stuff when you're out there, doing it, boots on the ground, as they like to say, out there
Hmm.
trying to have your encounter, trying to find some kind of evidence. So, how long had
Yeah.
you was that just that was a pretty recent thing, or have you been thinking about that for a while to do that?
Well, it was really a lot of subscribers would talk to me how they would prefer, not the more negative aspect of it. And, I try to be respectful, and I could see how there's so much that could be said with the hoaxing aspect that I kind of pull back from, just because I don't want to flood that channel with just like hoaxing stuff, and because that's not what it started for. I don't really know what it is for, but having hoaxing stuff in there sprinkled uh, spirit periodically through it, is fine, but not like kind of addressing stuff head on and stuff. So yeah, I just figured it was, it's best to kind of separate that stuff. So, if there's like more dramatic type videos associated with some of the shenanigans, then, it can stay on one channel and stuff, because it's just, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Figure it's easier that way.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and also that reminds me of what I wanted to do was there's going to be a link, guys, in the description for that new channel for everybody, and if you guys could go over and give it a like and all that stuff and a subscribe, that would be cool. There it is.
Yeah, and
It's,
I kind of,
it's called Bigfooting Shenanigans.
yeah, and I kind of want it to be a platform for, that's more user based. It's like something for the people. I wish I could take the subscriber number off, just because I think that that's a misleading tale of validation of a channel. Uh, so yeah, I want to, because I have various people which I do need to get back to about that they are presenting like, hey, check out this evidence for this guy hoax. I've already done a couple of videos on it. Uh, so there's a lot more of that. And, I get it. When I was first came out about the Bigfoot tree, I had no support. There was nothing in place. It's like you tell people. And then at that time, I just got bombarded with like hate and all this gaslighting and manipulation and stuff. And so the only real people I had was like the coalition, like Steven Streufert and the coalition were the only ones that are like, hey, yeah, that would actually acknowledge it and talk about it. But even then, they're like, oh yeah, it's still kind of tabooish to talk about, just cause. And uh, so it just so I get that it's kind of hard to have these conversations, especially when these bully tactics are used by a lot of these people that are up to the shenanigans. I mean, I like to, be transparent about a lot of the stuff I'm experiencing. So people, if they want to talk about hoaxers, that they understand what they're kind of getting into, what some of the tactics are, so that they have better ways to counteract that, and not have to feel like they need to respond to a lot of their their criticism towards you or something, just because you have to understand where the source is coming from. And so I want to kind of have that, and I kind of want to get some other people involved. So it's not just me. It's like maybe a good collaboration of people that can really, you know, tackle a lot of this stuff that needs to be tackled, and really give some people good resources of like what's really going on. I literally have people messaging like on my channel and stuff. If you go look at the comments, like on a lot of those channels, like, thank you so much for making this video, because it's like, these people just sometimes need uh, perspectives to
Yeah.
better understand what they're processing and stuff. And so I get a lot of people who appreciate that type of stuff. And so it's just, I kind of feel that there's so much more. And, I know Steve Coles and the coalition has been doing this for years. And I feel this is more of a, piggyback on what they're doing, and trying to make it even more accessible and get this information out there even more, and also give people more of a blueprint to better tackle a lot of these active hoaxers. The ones that are, because that's really hard to talk about, is the
Yeah.
active hoaxers, because they got the active followers, flying monkeys
Yeah.
or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call them, that will do the fighting for them. I mean, look at the cameraman crew. Trapper didn't even have to do anything. He had his buddy Mike do all the fighting for him. And so you see that with the followers and even team members and stuff. And so it's, and Leon's really good at help articulating these type of discussions, because it's something that we're facing in this subject. And I feel it's been an issue uh, on suppressing good, reliable information, because we're following people who, we shouldn't be following, but people don't have that opportunity to speak up, because there's just, again, no system in
Yeah.
place for people to speak up. So it's
Yeah,
pretty much the
I
whole
think
point of
it's
it.
I think it's even harder. Oh, hey, there's Donald. Donald said he was finished chasing a duck. Now that's, I don't know if that's irony that his name is Donald and he was chasing a duck, or what that falls into. But hello, Donald. Glad to see you, Mr. Fuller. Um, yeah, I think it's even harder too, especially those conversations, because and again, it's not like, pointing out that these guys, these particular entities are hoaxing, isn't so that they're, at least that I can see, it's not attempting to pull their followers away from them. It's just showing other people who are out there that are looking into the Bigfoot thing, to so they'll know who the hoaxers are.
Hmm.
And those guys, I mean, because you're not gonna pull away their subscribers anyway, even if you wanted to, which none of us, I
Yeah,
don't care about
they
that,
will shed some off. They will
because
shed some off, but they'll
well,
always have a
some
hardcore
probably,
following. Yeah, yeah, they'll
probably,
always have a hardcore following.
but they, oh yeah, because they're so entrenched in
Oh
this
yeah,
whole
yeah,
phenomenon already, because they've been entrenched in it for years now. And it's, they're out there and they're seeing Bigfoots every day, and they're and they've got all this stuff. They know all these things about Bigfoot that they don't really know, in my opinion. But and they're really entrenched, and they've got their loyal followers. And you know what? Fine. You know what? I hope their followers are happy with their lives and they're getting what they
yeah. Same
want.
here.
From them.
But you ain't
I want a
stopping me
real.
from talking about information that needs to be talked about. No,
Yeah.
no.
I want real answers. I want the
Yeah,
real
same
stuff.
here. I mean,
Not the
that's anything
not
else
the
is a
fake
waste of
stuff.
time at this point. And that's,
You
I
know.
think, probably why you're not really interested in the stories anymore, because you can't really verify it as much. Sure, some stories are nice because it's more, you can get more verification out of it through X, Y, and Z reason, because it was already vetted out or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what we all want, is reliable information. And there's nothing wrong with clearing a path towards that reliable information, because that's, I mean, I look at this as a serious operation. Like, I look at Bigfoot as like a serious thing. Like, it's like seriously out there, so it's like, well, why are we like catering to like people who are just like obviously lying? Why can't we just talk about it and say, hey, yeah, that dude's a liar right there, and but provide the receipts, do it in a respectful way, because you want to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then just be able to talk about that and transfer the information over. like again with the 40-page Wes Skirmer report. Actually, but to put it in perspective, check this out. Let's go back to the Bigfoot tree. uh, so we had Professor Brian Sykes come to America back in the mid 2010s, and he came to America, spent so much money to do a DNA study on Bigfoot, right? So he did a nationwide, which he got wrapped up with a lot of people like Justin Smayhow and other, shady characters and
Which
stuff.
I'm sorry, I'll say it straight out. I don't believe
Oh no, it's
Scott
fake,
Bigfoot at
dude.
all.
And yeah, it's fake, and it's just some people have a hard time thinking that their friends will lie to them, and it's like, no, your friends will actually lie to you, and
Yeah,
don't be surprised about it. And and so yeah, so Brian Sykes came and spent all that money, but more importantly, he spent like probably equally as much money on that Bigfoot tree, doing
really.
secret, flying people in there, taking multiple trips there,
Yeah,
and just he had a secret DNA project set up with Adam Davies and Lori and stuff. So they were trying to like figure that whole thing out. Then imagine like, so he spent tens of thousands of dollars on something that if people would have had the opportunity to speak up about, would have he never would have put his time towards something that was already vetted out, but he didn't have access to that sort of information. And you see that a lot with like how Jeff and John Bindernagel went up with and got wrapped up with Todd Standing, and you know uh, it makes you wonder how much they really knew, or whatever. And
yeah,
but I just feel that we should have more access to it, and the coalition is probably the ultimate repository. But it's one of those groups where it's not as pro Bigfoot as people might want. So I think it
right,
turns a lot of people off. So
right.
this year, I think I kind of want to build off again what Steve Coles is doing and what the coalition is doing, and help talk about active hoaxers, and you know kind of hopefully rely on people bringing in the information, and maybe even set up a way to talk about it, a video format, so people can make their own videos. They don't have to necessarily be on camera, but they can just do like present the evidence of like, here, this is why this person's hoaxing, here's the evidence XYZ, and do it in a way and have it all vetted out first, but and do it in a way that will engage more people by not being so negative and emotional about it and stuff. Kind like, I'm sure you've seen like a change with my videos, because I'm trying to better reach more people with the information that I'm talking about. And I
Yeah,
think that that's really critical in talking about this, because if you don't, then you're just wasting your time, because you're losing a percentage of those people that are looking at you, that are probably, and if they look at you as a attacking the person, then it's probably going to reinforce their beliefs and protecting the hoaxer, because they feel that you're just attacking them because of you're jealous or whatever like that. So you could actually be causing more damage by giving people more validation, by protecting the hoaxer, by that's actually what happened to me with Matt Johnson. When I very first, this is pre Zorth, everybody, and this was just when the portal stuff was just coming out. So, and I came into the Bigfoot subject around that time, and there was that big feud between Matt Johnson and pretty much everybody else. And Matt Johnson was close, and it seemed like he was having the most activity, so I gravitated towards there. And that's when I got caught into this like massive war I knew nothing about, but I blindly defended him, because I'm like, you shouldn't treat people this way. But I didn't know the context of why they were treating him that way. It was because he was treating them even worse before, and stuff. So it's like, got to understand context when you get into the middle of people's battles like that. And
yeah,
so that was a good learning experience. So, you know, uh, yeah, you can't expect to save everybody, but you can really communicate your point over by the way you communicate it. And it's something that I'm trying to also always improve on, and stuff. And
well, yeah, and
so,
you have.
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
on, I watch your videos when you put them out. And I mean, I've seen the changes over a period of time. You're actually becoming more and more um, well spoken about what you're trying to say. You're also
Yeah.
very much more diplomatic about what you're trying. You're way more diplomatic than I ever could attempt to be, man. Really. And so I've been watching it. I think that's a good thing, though.
Well, you got to listen to the
Um,
feedback, even the negative feedback that these people come at you about. There's good information in there. You shouldn't just take it as like, oh my God, someone's attacking me. That's why I allow all comments, and I will
yeah.
never delete
Oh,
a comment, no matter any sort of anything you come at me, unless it's like over the top, out
yeah.
crazy
Well, I
stuff.
mean,
But
there would be certain limits, but I get you. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like on every one of these videos, or these podcasts or whatever. I never like limit or cancel somebody's comment unless they're like just totally unreasonable, right? Then yeah, you're probably going to get deleted out of there. But everybody's opinion and everybody's comment, you're welcome to put them in there because I try to read them all, and and even if we don't agree on something, that's fine. I don't, that's you can figure out stuff by disagreements. You don't really end up really thinking much about too many things if everybody agrees with you on every single thing.
mm,
And I'm not
well,
right that much of the
well,
time.
plus,
So to
yeah,
agree with me on everything, it's like, well, dude, really? I mean, you're going to agree with me on everything? So, yeah, I expect people not to, you know, and
yeah,
I'm looking for those people to, because like I say, I like to try to give people a maybe a way to think about something that they hadn't thought about before in a certain way. I like people to do that for me too. I'd like to see, and maybe somebody can get me to think about something in a different way than I thought about it. Or they might say something and it might trigger something and I'll go, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that.
well, it's how they approach that discussion too, which is really important because if they approach it in a you know in a format that you creates a discussion and not just so accusatory and just projecting all your
Yeah.
issues on other people, then yeah, you're just going to cause issues.
Yeah,
So
well
it's
you gotta
important how you
wonder
talk to them.
you gotta
Yeah,
wonder why, because I'm not a psychologist. I mean, I kind of know. I mean, I understand it a little bit, but it's really perplexing that some of the people, not the hoaxer themselves, but the people that follow them, how they can take something so personally on them when we're not even talking about you. We're not.
yeah. Well,
You're not even part of
well,
the thing.
it's
We're
like
not.
it's like it's just like with sports and stuff. People just identify and they just identify and protect. It's like nationalization of countries. It's like, oh, I'm American. I'm XYZ, and, oh, you're Canadian, all these different things. It's the same thing, and it's all silly, really,
Yeah.
because there is really no difference between us all. But
Well, it's
yeah,
funny. The other day, with the Jeep, right? Everybody knows the Jeep. And I get mostly all good comments. People are constantly going, "I love your Jeep, man. That's great." And then, and even people are like, "Did you find them yet?" And my answers vary. Sometimes I might say, "Well, I think I did, but I'm not absolutely sure yet." Or sometimes I'll say, "You know what? If I do, we'll split the money." Things like that. But I finally had some guy one time. He had this big Buffalo Bills, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan. That's my football team, Bills, of course. And he had this big thing across the back
wide
window
right.
of his pickup truck, Bills, Buffalo Bills. And he says out the window, he says, "Bigfoot's not real." And I said, "Neither are the chances for the Buffalo Bills to win a Super Bowl, but I still root for them."
That's a good comeback right there.
you know.
Oh and
And he
4.
laughed. He laughed, and I was like, I laughed too. So that's the thing is, Brent. I don't know if you've experienced this or not, but there is a total difference between engaging with these people online and engaging with the public out in public, man. Because yeah, like I said in the other show the other day, man, I am finding it much more enjoyable driving around that Jeep with people approaching me and having much better conversations about it. Whether they believe that it is, whether they give it a possibility, or whether they're like, nah, that can't exist. You know, all the conversations are pretty cool. you know. None of it has any animosity to it, you know. And so I'm loving that part, man. You don't find that too much online, really.
Well, no, it's good. It's a good positive thing that, that's the way this subject should be. It shouldn't be about the animosity, the hatred, the threats, and all that stuff. It should be about uh the collaboration of us all for the common goal of better understanding what's out there. Because that's what I was so naively thought when I first came into the subject. I didn't know about the woo or anything, and I thought everybody was working on the same team of like everybody working together. And it's like, whoa, when I started to realize that wasn't the case, once you start navigating everything, which is like, wow, that's a hard thing to navigate too. That very first year, year one, it's like, it's tough.
Yeah. I think, the funny thing is, oh, and this is totally off a tangent, man. This is totally on a tangent. You know, I often, well, not often, but every occasionally, people will hear me mention the Seneca uh, man that I used to know when I was younger, Walter,
Hmm.
and talk to about Walter about the Yahe, you know, which are the stone giants here in New York. Now, Bill mentioned something the other day, and I hadn't thought about that. And I kind of put it together, two and two together, because when I was talking to Walter about them, he wasn't quite convinced or sure that what everybody else was calling Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever was the same thing as these things. Now, yeah, he described them. They were taller, they were hairier, their skin was hard as rock. But Bill mentioned something from the Book Lost crew, mentioned something the other day that makes me, I think I'm going to delve a little more into it, because maybe they weren't exactly, maybe they were describing Vikings. Because
Hmm.
Bill said something about it the other day about the stone. If you're wearing chainmail, arrows don't penetrate unless they hit in just a certain way, if there's a chink in it. But mostly, they're not going to be very effective against chainmail, especially stone tipped arrows. You know,
Well, if
and
they had no
maybe that's,
concept of stone or of metals, then
yeah,
yeah, how would they understand why their arrows and stuff won't
right.
go
And of
through there?
course, the
Yeah.
Vikings would have been much taller.
Hmm.
And especially if they were the berserker type of Vikings, the bear shirts, they would have been hairy looking, and so I don't
And
know, man. I don't know. The Otnet Yahe might not be Sasquatch. It might be something totally different, which also makes me go, then what in the hell is Rasta? Because I don't think Rasta's a Viking. you
no,
know?
no, probably
Uh,
not.
so yeah, that's got me to thinking about it. I wish Walter was still alive, man, so I could ask him, because I
Well, it's
never did get around to it, and he never did come out and say, well, the Odnet Yarhe were actually what you call Vikings now. He never said any of that.
well, we also have something here called stick Indians too,
Hmm.
which is it's got different interpretations depending upon which tribe you talk to, but it's yeah, some of them are bigger and hairy, and then other ones are like they're more. I guess there's more of a paranormal aspect to it because we also have buckwas here, or the buckwas is it's weird because buckwas is like referred to different entities apparently because here buckwas are known to be like not Bigfoots but like little hairy things about like 3 or 4 feet tall,
Yeah,
and they're mischievous and they like go and steal a bunch of stuff. Maybe stole your bread that one time. Who knows?
yeah, maybe, yeah. My King's
Yeah,
Lion bread, which
yeah, yeah.
they do sound a little bit like the Mini Huna of
Yeah,
Hawaii.
yes.
You know,
Could that be a baby Bigfoot even, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of different things out there. We just gotta, but with what you saw, I would probably say that's more of what people are calling a Bigfoot in
I
North
guess,
America.
man, but I just don't
Yeah.
understand why. There's thousands of reports now. I don't know whether it's just people having a hard time describing what they're seeing, so they just automatically default to, oh, it looked like an ape. it looked like a gorilla. Well, no matter what, I mean, even if
Well, covered in
even if
hair, it's
Bigfoot or
realistic.
Sasquatch is part of a Homo genus, right?
Yeah.
That would they'd still be apes, just like we're still apes. But
But it was probably
um,
the covered in hair, and it
it,
was
it,
that's how
there's
they could best translate what they could, best translate to what they saw is like, okay, it was ape-like
yeah.
because you can't say
Because
it was like
Oscar
a,
doesn't look like a gorilla at all, man. He looks like a caveman, dude. I mean, that's
uh,
the closest I come to is like some sort of relic hominin, and I guess I mean that's really what we were dealing with. Whether when you're talking about Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever, really what you're dealing with is no matter what you want to call it. You could call it the Jelly Bean Man or whatever if you want to, whatever you're calling it. It's a relic hominin of some sort. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. But the variation, and I understand people talk often about variations, like no two human Homo sapiens, me and you, we don't look exactly alike. You can tell we're the same species, morphologically speaking. Our noses are the same kind of nose, and etc. But that doesn't really explain the vast difference because you put me next to a gorilla. Well, even though I love gorillas and I'd like to think of myself as like just this really evolved gorilla myself, but you could tell the difference between the gorilla and me. You could be like, well, that's a gorilla and Joe is a dickhead, but
well,
um,
something else to always take into account too is maybe some of these reports aren't real too. So
well, I'm
it's
sure,
just
yeah. I mean, there's probably some of
misidentification,
them,
or
but
the way our memories work too. It's like you can easily rewrite memories, and I catch myself doing that every so often. It's like, oh wow, I totally misremembered that, and I mixed up two memories to make one memory, but it was in fact
right,
so it wasn't technically an accurate memory. And I catch myself doing that with just like random different things, nothing major yet, but I think the way our minds work and memories work and misidentifications and just people out there just trying to get attention, that probably makes up a decent amount of what people are seeing and why there's such a
yeah,
vast difference of what people are
yeah.
claiming they're
I'm
seeing.
still hopeful though, or kind of optimistic about. I think there's probably more people out there that have had actual encounters than there are the ones that are making up stories about encounters.
I don't
Because
know.
yeah, I mean, obviously there are people that make up stories about encounters. I mean, and those are pretty easy to point out. I mean, or pick out because there's going to be a lot of red flags
Sometimes.
to it. And they're usually a person who's making something up somewhere along the line, especially the more elaborate that it gets. There's going to be contradictions. They're going to contradict themselves somewhere along the line. So, but by and large, I mean, I've heard a lot of encounter stories that I believe, absolutely. Even if though, and of course, I do have to say, if they come close to describing what I saw, which I've heard some stories um, that did come close to what I saw, then I gotta go, wow, man, they're not lying. you know,
Mm.
that guy's not making that up. He couldn't be because he doesn't know me. Probably never even heard my encounter, and you know, so and like I said, there's that one that I forget who was what was it? I think it was on um Sibylla Irwin's show. This guy was talking about him and his buddies, and they saw this thing across a creek, man. And the description, other than the color of the hair, I mean, you could have. I would have went, wow, that sounds like Rasta, man. Although he did say, to be fair, he couldn't see the face that clearly because the hair was so thick in front of the face. Now with Rasta, yeah, the hair was hanging down, but it wasn't so much that I could see his face through the hair, the strands of hair that were hanging down. But yeah, that guy's description was so close, man, even to the size of the thing, that I was like, yeah, okay. I think this guy's really, on the level, man. And I mean, he does have the benefit that there was more than just one person there. It was him and two of his other buddies, and I'm sure that they backed up the whole thing too and saw the same thing he did. So, you know, um,
Yeah,
but that,
encounters are always tough because there's no real evidence to verify it, and you can't really
right,
expect a lot of evidence at a moment chance encounter like that because
right,
there's always that moment where you have to process with what you're seeing, that you're processing
try
something
to,
that,
yeah,
yeah, that it's like, okay, I'm seeing something that I realize isn't normal, that I need to document this. So I need to get my camera out, and it makes you wonder of how many seconds have already passed when you have this realization. And we know that a lot of these sightings are like a fleeting glimpse of, like, it just runs away or whatever.
yeah. Some of them
And
are like that. You don't have time for any of that. And some of them
yeah.
are like mine, where it's just such a surprise and a scary moment that the only thing running through your brain is survival at that point. You're not thinking about, oh, I've been searching, I've been trying to find. None of that shit's going through your head, man. All the only things
uh,
going through your head, at least mine was, holy shit, that's a fucking big thing. I mean, that thing's huge. I'm scared, man. So it's like none of that. I don't. There ain't none of that. All right, switch into super investigator researcher mode. All right, he's not moving, so let's go ahead. Nah, none of that shit's going through my head, man. The only thing going through my head, and I think with most of the other people that have had encounters that are similar to mine, that's what went through their head too. Is how am I getting out of here with my skin on? Can I? You know. Um, so yeah, I mean, I wish I could have been braver. You know, I hope that if I ever see that thing again, I'm brave enough to and have the wherewithal. Like Thomas says, I usually when I go out in the woods, I'll run a camera.
mhm.
Just for the hell of it. You know, and that way, hopefully, if I ever do, maybe I'll be ready to at least get something. Now whether I show that something to anybody is going to really rely heavily upon how well I captured it. Because if it's
Mhm.
just another one of these instances where, yeah, well, you see it, but it's not conclusive, I could say, dude, I saw it with my own eyes. That's the fucking Bigfoot or whatever, or that's Rasta or whatever, or hell, that wasn't Rasta, but it was something. I mean, it's if it's not something that is so obvious, then it's like I think to myself, why would I show it to anybody? Would I show it to you guys? I definitely wouldn't just put it out on the internet for consumption, general consumption, if it was like that. And I might wrestle with myself as like, well, should I show this to Leon or Brent or Steve or whatever? Um, even though it's not very definitive, and I don't know. I don't know I guess I'd have to see when the time came, man. I think inside of me there'd be this super desire, strong desire to show it to you guys, just to
Well,
go, guys, what, is this, am I just
you,
crazy, or do you see this, or what do you think? Or, I mean, there
you
would
can
be
always send it to somebody to get it, like, enhanced or something, get it upscaled or
that.
something like that. So it, you know, brings even more computer generated imagery into it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe it will actually create this whole figure, or maybe it'll just create like a marshmallow man. Who knows?
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, with the way the upscaling does, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can always do that. A lot of possibilities. I know a guy that that does that
Yeah.
actually. Does
That's
the
cool.
upscaling?
Yeah.
Yeah, not really, but
All right, guys. The
yeah.
link's in the chat, man. If anybody wants to jump on here and talk about, because I'm really interested. That's the thing too. Is I'm more when it comes to this channel. I'm really more interested in hearing people's research ideas. People that I believe that are actually honestly researching, like the people like in the chat, like Trackway and Jonathan from Sasquatch Wizards Adirondacks, all those people. I'm more interested in actually people that are honestly researching if they've got some research ideas, what techniques are they using? Is there any ideas that popped into their head that they want to share with somebody and say, hey, well, how about we try this, or that kind of thing. So
Somebody that's always out there trying to do innovation that that's out there. It's a guy named Ben Freed. He's a local guy for me. Ben Freed with Bigfoot
mhm,
Ops. He's got a really interesting setup where he is testing a bunch of different uh, projects, all the way from like infrasound to call blasting to gifting to you name it.
mhm,
Mainly a lot of audio recording too. So if people are really interested in seeing investigators trying different things, you can go on Facebook, and he's got a page called Bigfoot Ops, and he's just somebody out there that's kind of
yeah,
doing his best on trying to get some sort of solid evidence and stuff. And actually, there's some other good people associated with that group that are, uh, that are really getting some interesting stuff. Like the last time me and Tristan were down there, there was we had recorders set up, and there was some stuff that was recorded that like didn't even hear at the time. Like whoops, I think it was, and tree breaks and stuff. Actually, I need to send my audio to somebody because or I just need to load up the computer. It's like loading up a Commodore 64, I swear. but I was just briefly
yeah.
playing some audio from last year
You got to
from
feed
when
the
me and my
hamsters, man. You got to
yeah
feed the
yeah
hamsters.
yeah
So,
yeah. But I was listening just through some audio that from when me and my son went camping last August, and something a tree fell over the road or whatever. It was over the road. And so I didn't really go through the audio or anything like that. And so I finally kind of did. And it's like, ooh, there's a lot going on. Something was like messing with the audio recorder, because I had the audio recorder set up on like a tripod thing. Um, yeah, and you also hear this like tree break. I think it's a widowmaker or like a tree falling down or something. And
yeah,
it's crazy though. It's crazy
yeah.
stuff, which you can hear, or what kind of goes on out there when you're not awake.
Yeah. Well, I got to admit, man. I mean, I know that trees fall in the forest. They do
Oh yeah, they
naturally,
do. They do
all
all
the
the
time.
time.
But it is hard to when you do hear just a sudden tree fall, especially if it's like a really calm day, or even a calm night. Right? It's and the weather's nice. It's still one of them things, man. You hear the random tree crash to the ground. It's still gonna. Even me, I admit it, man. It's gonna pop into my head. What caused that tree to fall? What caused that tree to fall? Like, of course, my brain is going to be like, did a Bigfoot push that tree over? And then I got to be like, well, why would he push it over? Well, you know what? Why would the bears push over trees? Knock them down. Let's find some grubs or termites or whatever inside, right? Maybe that's what Bigfoot does too. I don't know. Hey, we got some more people. Leon joined the chat. He said he's still making dinner, but that's cool. Maybe he'll pop on before we get off if he gets the chance. And then LB's in here, Lockbeard's in here, Earth Guardian. Cool. And they were having some fun in the chat, apparently. They were saying that I wasn't interested in them. That's Jay Fritz. Yeah, Jay Fritz said, let's go watch the She Squatchers crash. Joe's not interested in us. LOL. Well, no, I'm always interested in you guys. Yeah, of course I am. I know you were joking, Jay. Yeah, but it was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. Um, Graz, no, you know what? You don't have to wear clothes, dude. I'm just saying, if you're naked, please don't turn on your camera. That's all. You can still pop on. Just don't activate the camera if you're not wearing clothes.
Or just be naked from the camera down.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. But
I
still,
gotta get up real quick. No.
I don't take my shirt off. Because nobody even wants to see that, man. My shirt off. I very rarely go without at least a t-shirt on. If I'm camping, you might see me with my shirt off if you come around the camp. And that's gonna scar you, but that's okay. That's what happens. That's what happens when you get old, man. You know, you're not the beautiful thing you were when you were young anymore. gravity takes over and starts pulling different body parts closer to the ground. And
Which could be good in some ways too.
I'm still looking for it.
Depending upon the body part, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, look, I would not run through I would not run through a bramble patch with no no clothes on, because
It makes you think that a Bigfoot probably wouldn't either, man. Can you imagine that? Getting that caught on like a thorn or something and just
oh
like,
yeah,
but you're going full speed and it just gets caught there and it just like tear.
oh that would hurt. That would hurt, man. I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about it.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's like, but the thing is about listening to the people with their that are, because like I've said it over and over and over again. I use the word researcher, investigator, and stuff, and in kind of a way, I am doing a little bit of that, but I'm not what when people refer to themselves as a researcher or investigator. I'm not that kind. I'm not that guy, and I understand that, because really for me, it's just a matter of curiosity, um, and now it's a burning curiosity. Since 3 years ago, that just kind of just totally turned everything around for me. But um, yeah, I want to, because I don't know how am I supposed to ever have another encounter again, other than doing what I'm doing, man, is putting myself out there where I saw it at least once and keep going back to that spot in hopes of somehow seeing it again. I mean, I don't know how else to do it, other than looking for places where credible reports, or that you could say you consider credible reports, have taken place, and go put yourself in that spot for a while. And, that's the only way I know. I mean, occasionally,
That's the only way that yeah, that's the
I
only way I
look
know
for
too.
footprints and stuff, but
Yeah, yeah.
most of the time I'm just camping, hoping something's going to happen, hoping that there's some sort of curiosity about what in the hell is this hairless little ape doing out here.
Well, that's where I think where things come to differ, uh, or where things really need to change as far as just being a general camper versus maybe being something just a little bit more. Like talking with Tristan and stuff, like doing these like night sits out there, just kind of having this little ambient light, like glow sticks or these lights that I'll show you guys later, but something like that, to kind of make it, what's going on over here? This is something unique, but still comforting, because there's no random flashlights that could expose us real easy. And then, we can watch them and maybe throw some pebbles at them, see how they react, and, all that stuff. So yeah, maybe, uh, maybe it's more than camping. It's something we got to try and bring them in somehow by doing all the right things, but maybe that's just camping too. I don't know.
Yeah,
It seems like there's no playbook on it. You just got to kind of
yeah,
go
yeah,
with what you feel works.
yeah. I mean, you do have that one book by Robert W. Morgan, Bigfoot Field Guide, thing. And that was a pretty good book, really. And I mean, in that book, he kind of like does espouse exactly what I just said. Just put yourself in a spot and just act natural, and try to elicit some curiosity. Um, and that's all I can.
But
That's
it
all I can
also,
hope for. I
what
mean,
would
because,
make it,
well, the thing is though, Brent, is because of like the actual researchers, right, and investigators, their whole, what we're doing here is, our motivations are different. Our motivations are different. My motivation is just to get answers for myself about a particular incident that happened to me now. And that's pretty much it. Others are motivated and actually like trying to prove that they are real and that they exist. So their motivations are out there, hiking for, miles, looking for things like hair or some kind of physical evidence that can be tested, and etc. Which, I'm not doing that. I look for footprints just so I can cast them and go, hey, look, I got a freaking Sasquatch footprint. Of course, I wouldn't say that until I had it vetted to make sure. because I'm not an expert at it. I've studied some of the experts and what they tell me I should look for to know if it's a actual Sasquatch footprint. Um, Unfortunately, I don't find a lot of them. I find a lot of, you can see a lot of impressions, and sometimes that's cool if you can see what looks like a trackway, but there's usually no real definition to it. So I'm at the point to where, yeah, I can be going, you know what? I think that's actually a foot. I think that's actually a trackway of a Sasquatch because certain dimensions match and look at the stride length and there's no definition. So, but when it comes right down to it, I can't be 100% sure if there's no definition to it whatsoever, right? So, but I still look for that stuff just so I can have mementos. Basically, it's not really to say, look, I'm proving that they're here in New York or whatever. So yeah, the motivations are different. I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Did you freeze?
No, did you?
No, no. You,
Oh,
you
okay.
look like you froze there. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think those guys that are, that are doing that, that more power to them, man. More power to them. I mean, there's, some people find it important that we should have this thing recognized, and there's various reasons for it, right? Protection of them, Also, I think a lot of it comes down to actually proving that we're not freaking crazy, right? That there really is something out there. I think that's a big motivation for a lot of people. Um, but mostly it's because, some of it may be very honorable motivation, like I said, protection of species if it's actually out there, right? And
Hmm.
there is something out there. There's no doubt about that in my mind. There is something out there. There's a picture of it or a sketch of it right behind me. At least that's what I think anyway. But um, so yeah, I think that is, and um, if you want to actually be that and be a researcher, if you want to be a researcher, don't listen to anything I say because I'm probably doing everything wrong when it comes to being a researcher or an investigator. But there are people out there that if you want to learn how to be an effective researcher or investigator, those are the people you should listen to. Like Steve Coles and some of these other guys that are doing the documentaries and trying to do it in a objective manner and just look at those guys. You know, um, and those are the ones that when it comes to that, if that's what you want to be, is one of the people that perhaps bring it to the forefront that, hey, you know what, science, you guys that are in the science arena that don't think this is possible, because we do have a few scientists that are interested. um, Here it is, man. And so if that's your thing, yeah, you should go listen to those guys, learn from those guys. I try to learn from them too, um, because who knows? Maybe someday I will be out there just taking a little hike, while I'm camping and looking around to see, and maybe I will find some hairs, or maybe I will find some kind of sample that I can collect. And it's important to know how to do those things. And fortunately, because of other people that know how to do it, I know how to do it too now. Just in case. So that there's no cross contamination of my DNA with whatever I'm collecting, etc.
Yeah. 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 Because it's all about collecting the right samples. Because I know Todd Disotell won't check any samples unless there's a clear video documentation of the exact start to finish. To avoid
Mm-hmm.
any sort of, which that there goes to tell you that there, we need to get better at being citizen scientists. And I did some videos with like with some of that, like a couple of years ago, a year or two ago, with Ben Fried actually down there at Bigfoot Ops, of because he's really in tune with this whole investigation. Because yeah, I don't know what I would consider myself. I'm not really an investigator. I'm not really this or that. I just really don't know. I'm just there. in this subject. I really am. It's just I
Yeah.
don't. I'm just there, and that's cool. But no pressure on that too either. So there's like zero pressure in just being there. So I don't have to worry about producing evidence or anything like this.
Right.
Just kind of go, just like a dog, just following, and whatever goes. Anyways, but yeah. So it's hard to yeah. Anyways.
Well, I think what's the most interesting is, when you're doing it that way, like, people wonder, and the way that, okay, so some people, they watch some of these people that are out there and I'm sorry, Trackway, I know you hate it when we say LARPing, because we've gone over this, so I'm not going to go. We understand there is some LARPing that actually is beneficial and it's educational, right? But when we refer to it as, but so those people that are pretending, right? Um, there's that impetus to keep producing something that keeps people delved in, and people wonder why. They're like, well, nobody's going to watch you going through the woods. Well, yes, they are, because with people, like when you guys do videos, or even when I start doing them again, am I going to be showing you Bigfoot evidence every time I put one up? No, of course not. Because I mean, I could look at all these stick structures, and no, everybody knows my freaking stance on that stuff. But you can, in your search for the evidence and the reason why you're out there hoping to have an encounter or whatever, you can find some other pretty interesting shit too.
Oh
There.
yeah, dude. We found this like
know?
really cool cabin, this really cool abandoned cabin, this cool old truck that's just like, it's just time's taking it back over, and it's cool, going through and finding stuff like that, because a lot of the areas that I go, it's national forest, so the government took it back, but they're allowing grandfathered in property, which is, some used to have cabins there and whatnot, and but some of the more remote areas is where you can come to like unmarked burial grounds too, where, as far as like there's no, you just only know it's there because you just stumbled upon it, as far as being unmarked and stuff. So
Yeah. Hey,
what's up,
Trackway,
man?
Howdy.
how's it going, man?
So it looks like
Okay.
your window's dirty.
It's pointing straight up at the light.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have any
No,
way to
man.
hold the. I don't have any way to hold the camera up. So yeah, so no big
Oh,
deal.
I get a tripod. I just get a tripod with those little clips on it, phone clips, and call it good.
Yeah. At some point. Not much. Just well, hop on, say hi. You were, talking about some of the things. Just I don't know. I guess it's just dependent upon how you look at it and what you're doing. Them guys out there are obviously not doing something productive. Whereas opposed that, the nighttime investigations I've done, it's led me to question, some of these bluff charges and stuff like that people are saying are happening in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Because we found out that, by going out in the dark without the flashlights and stuff like that, we were almost stepping on deer.
Oh yeah.
And they weren't bouncing or jumping or anything like that, and that might have been a misidentification. So,
Yeah.
but no, I get that point. I mean, using a whole different, um, using a whole slew of different techniques or whatnot, is pretty important. Everything that I've used from, I've spent 18 hours up in a tree stand. Yeah, that
I
was.
could do, man. I don't know if I could spend 18 hours up in a tree stand.
I don't think I could do it
Vacation.
now without compression socks. But that was back in the day when I was younger, and I didn't. At the time I wasn't hunting. I've only started this in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I was hunting deer back then, and at that point I hadn't really started mapping their behavior and realizing how much time I was wasting sitting in that tree stand 18 hours. At the right there are certain periods throughout their life cycle, throughout their behavioral um, cycle that the deer follow throughout a year, that pays off extremely well. But that window is only 3-4 days long, something like that. So, and just using a mixture or covering land. A lot of time, when you're out there on the ground, you got to think about it in different type situations, or applying different techniques that from other things like fishing. When you're covering water, you're looking for active fish. When you're covering land, you're looking for active whatever.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, new things. You asked about new things or whatnot. I got for you. I met Tactical Bigfoot Research Mike a
Mike,
few weekends back,
great guy.
and he turned me on to the 3D apps along with CFB. And the next day we ended up using one. And I've posted how that all played out and worked out, and some of the other different tracks. Now, whether or not it's we actually found an actual track, or I think that's up for debate. I didn't realize just how big our feet are. I'm not a foot specialist, and I don't know that much about feet.
Right.
Seven.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, those 3D apps that they can really bring out some definition of something that you're looking at. If you're thinking it's a track, I mean, it's amazing. Mike's a good guy to go out with, man. I mean, he doesn't live that far from me, and I love going out with Mike, man, because he does have all that stuff, man, and he's always showed. He just sent me some other app too, some identification app that I'm gonna have to check out too. But yeah, the 3D. So the footprint, where you 3D map that? Did you?
Yes, that was the very first thing we did it the very next day. I wasn't expecting to find it. We was out investigating something else entirely indifferent, a strange trail cam photo that we had, and I've come to believe that trail cam photo was caused by what trail cams use is a process called interpolation, and I believe that Brent briefly hit on that earlier. We're in the process of upscaling. You can add artifacts, miscolored pixels, you can add just about anything to it. And in trail cameras and such, what they do is they'll advertise this is a 16 megapixel camera, this is a 32 megapixel camera. Well, they get that by the process of interpolation. And what they are actually using is a 3 megapixel camera, and that's actually what you find in your phones and so forth. That a lot of these images that people are blowing up and whatnot might actually just be what's the proper term, artifacts.
Yeah, you see the Apple technology, the Apple phone relies heavily on this technology, especially when you're pixel peeking, where you're zooming into the picture close up, because that's where it starts to break down and starts looking really bad. But yeah, it's Apple's really good at that, and it does make you wonder about how what it's portraying is if it's what's really there in real life. So yeah.
And I think that's something that should be pretty much on everybody's list of questions to ask when they're out there investigating something.
Well, yeah, because it's going to be brought up, especially if it's going to be produced or presented as evidence, because people are going to have questions about it. And it's something I've asked Mark Gazaski about numerous times before. It's like, well, okay, so what kind of software are you using? What kind of iPad software are you using? Because that's what you use primarily is an iPad. And so it's like, okay, well, what kind of, and it's an old one too, doesn't get updates anymore or whatever. So there's so many factors that needs to be presented in with it, and like what kind of software is he using to get these images that he's producing, Mark Zasky that is, and like the steps he actually took to get there, and And like with this whole upscaling debacle,
Right.
not really debacle, but this drama with that Todd Gatewood dude with that whole upscaling picture, it's the same exact thing. Because they think, him and MK think that that's what it looks like in real life, and it's like, how could you think that? You know, it's like from a movie. It's like how you see in a movie where it's just like enhance, 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 and it just
Hmm.
it blows it up to like crazy proportions, and it looks pristine and stuff. And that's what they think happened, I guess. That's is what they do think happened. And
See,
I
this
don't
is
know,
all
Right.
the
man.
stuff that I need to learn. You guys have more knowledge about this kind of stuff than I do, because when you start talking about using certain terms, and especially when it comes to cameras and etc., videos, I mean, it's like speaking Greek to me.
Hmm.
Even Grasshopper,
Same
his
here.
comment says, "You're just zooming in on pixels. AI might take over using fractal creation." I have no
There
idea
you
Well,
what
go.
the hell that is.
see that interpolation process. What it is that say your camera, your average trail camera has somewhere between a 3 and 4 megapixel actual camera in it, and it'll take a set of blocks of pixels, um, for whatever image it captures. And then what it will do in order to increase the pixel size, it'll start breaking those blocks down that it just took into smaller pieces parts. And you get to a point where you have to wonder if the camera or the program that it's using is guessing. And some of the images that I started looking back through, and you're starting to see more and more evidence of it, miscolored pixels, pixels in the wrong spot, this and that, and so forth. And that's really, it was something I knew about at the time when I looked at the picture. I didn't really think about it
Mm-hmm.
until I asked myself the question when I was out in the woods looking at it: what if this image was never here? And that's when the light bulb went off about, oh, wait a minute, I know they use this process in cameras. And I had to go back and revisit it and start doing a deep dive into it a little bit more. Now there is, to get to a higher base of information, that you're going to have to get somebody who's more familiar with digital photography and stuff like that. I question if manufacturers are just using from a marketing term, you can go out and buy 100,000 3-4 megapixel cameras, and then all you have to do is buy one program for $100 that upscales them to whatever,
Mhm.
8 megapixel. Go out and spend another $100. So in the end, what you're doing is you're getting more out of a cheaper product, and you're putting it out on the market at a higher marketable or advertising rate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's some of what came out now. You think about it, if you're going to get a truly good camera, the things that hasn't changed much. You're going to pay for a good camera, or a really good spotting scope, um, that has super clear lenses and everything inside for given high quality imagery. You're going to pay $3,000 for I believe it's a Konoha. Gary Reed just got one along with his camera. And you think about it, and you step back and you kind of listen to some of the discussions that Doug Hychek was making before about, you want optical zoom only, not using your digital zoom, because your digital zoom will exaggerate that process, I think. But like I said,
Well, he got
uh,
that interesting footage of that, whatever it was, like that steam, or I don't even know what to describe it as.
Oh,
I'm
that
sure you guys
thing
said,
that was like,
yeah, in the very
yeah,
background there. Yeah,
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 and
yeah,
it's like, wow, what's that? But then it's like, I wonder if it's
yeah.
a matrixing of some sorts, because I remember I did a video, and it was like a something I had hanging behind me, and it looked like it was waving, but it wasn't actually waving. It was just the way that my camera was processing the background, because of the way it couldn't, I guess, pick up maybe of what it was trying to. I don't know, honestly, but it was a computer issue, because it was 100% not waving. But in the camera, in the playback, it was waving. So it's like, it makes you wonder if how all that plays into when we're like really pixel peaking on certain aspects of this video with some of this new
Yeah.
technology coming out.
yeah. It's hard to
Well,
tell.
Yeah, you know that one, man. You know there was a bunch of people that even though, and that's not what he was suggesting at all, that from what I got, but you know there's a lot of people jumping on, that's a cloaked Bigfoot, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, of course, you know, they're going to be jumping to that, but it's like, he's not, but he's just going, I don't know what the hell that is, which is a
Yeah,
fair statement because I'm looking at it and I'm seeing what they're referring to, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Is that some kind of you know, like you said, some kind of matrixing, or is it some kind of anomaly with the camera or the lighting, or
well, it's interesting
I don't
because
know.
of the way that the bugs are actually interacting with uh that disruption in the video there. It's, you know, and it's funny because like one of the last bugs that kind of flew next to it, it collapsed, and it reminds me of you have a sheet and you just let it go and it just collapsed, you know, like a ghost was in it and it just collapsed because the ghost just leaves or whatever. And how that sheet collapsed, that's what it kind of remind me of. It's just kind of like this collapsing motion. And again, I don't know if that could be something actually there physically with him, or if it's actually some of this technology that he's now using of trying to better use by using software, better produce an image, a video image, even by using software. But unfortunately, it had bugs in it or something. I don't know. It's something that really kind of need to look into more.
Yeah,
Well,
this is what tells me that I'm never going to be that well versed with, even though, like I said, I'll be running cameras all the time and I'll film whatever I can, but I'll never be able to, you know, have anything top notch because, you know, look, I'm almost 60 years old, man. The older I
mhm.
get, the harder it is for you to actually learn shit as you get older. Your brain, when you're young, it's like a sponge, man. It's a lot easier to learn stuff. And it's not that I don't want to learn this stuff, it's just very difficult for me, even though, again, I'm actually very intelligent, folks. But yeah, this stuff is like it's like it's alien to me, you know, and it's like I that's why I have to rely on people that know a hell of a lot more about it than me, like somebody like Matt. I mean,
Mhm.
that guy, I mean, you know, when it comes to cameras and stuff like that, in my opinion, that's one of the guys that should be a go-to, man, when you're trying to figure out something with, you know, how a camera works and what a camera does and how it does it and etc. That's the guy, man. You know,
Yeah, but
one of them at
even
least.
even having everything on auto will still work good. It's just when presenting that to whoever, to make sure just to give it all over, don't hide certain things, you know, be completely transparent, and that there will make it so you don't have to I don't know, whatever with it,
Yeah,
I
my
guess.
cameras are always set on auto because I don't know what all the other settings are. Like,
I know it's like you gotta go to school just to figure it out.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I just got the GoPro 11, and then finding out, you know, with it on auto, there's just going around Message Boards or whatever, and finding out, you know, there's better settings of this and that for this kind of footage, that kind of footage. And I'm like, no, I need just auto.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
But
yeah, it's tough.
I think Matt has the right idea too about, you know, as far as, you know, when he's going to call it quits and so forth. And um, I know a couple things that I'm looking at in the future. You know, I'm probably going to call quits as well. But
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that at the 10-year mark too. Like 10-year mark, then write a book and then move on. Because
Yeah,
it's like after you can't make any progress or anything after 10 years, then maybe you're not very good at it, I guess, or something. I don't know.
that must
But
be me, man.
it was oh my God. Not Colorado. Matt. God dang. It was Matt though that actually kind of was like, yeah, actually that's really good to put a time limit on things so
mhm.
you can get the things done that you feel you need to get done, and if not, then at least you tried, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
From my standpoint, you know, at some point down the road, that all this stuff costs money. You know, and at some point down the road, I have to stop spending money and I need to start throwing, a large chunk of it in for, having a liquid retirement nest egg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's a good hobby.
Grasshopper brings up a good point, and this is the way I think, and probably why. I mean, if you take in the total history of me and the Bigfoot phenomenon since I got interested when I was a kid, 14. I mean, 46 years. It's kind of hard to get away from it. And it's like it's the same thing. Grasshoppers says, "Don't give up. It's a good excuse to get in the woods." And I mean, it really is. And it's just like I don't know why I've been at it for so long. And well, of course, now, after, seeing what I saw 3 years ago, that kind of renewed me and reinvigorated me because, up until that point, yeah, it was getting a little tedious. Like, well, am I really looking? Why am I searching out here for something, that may be mythical, even though I still, every time I told myself that, I'm like, yeah, man, but you've got footprints that have been vetted by experts in primatology and those kind of the that are saying that they're so something is leaving those footprints, man.
But can those
And
footprints be fake to fool a professional?
I don't know. They tried
Well,
to.
Grover Krantz signed off on some that have been proven fake. So
Yeah, well,
even the greatest of greats.
Yeah, Les Stroud tried to fool Meldrum, but he wasn't successful at it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was a good benchmark for fooling the professionals and stuff. Yeah, just because, but you just look historically of like what Jeff Meldrum has signed off on that has really like some of the Paul Freeman stuff. It's like, a lot of questions there.
Yeah. Well, there's always going to be questions. I'm always going to have questions, man, and that's
especially when you were caught hoaxing and the prints look fake even.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it makes you wonder because I know professionals like who are like really smart at their field of service or whatever, and man, they can easily be wrong about X, Y, and Z or have a bad perspective because they have an inherent bias or something. And that's why it's like it's great that they're involved, but it's not the definitive thing that we should rely on for a belief in something. Like with Prince, it's like with Prince is so hard because I know so many people who go out there and fake, not personally, but I've heard stories of people going out there and faking Bigfoot prints, not so much to be there for the excitement of fooling everybody, but just to go plant them because they like pranking. The guy at the TSA, this other guy that was telling me at a Bigfoot meeting that because he was wearing a shirt, and the guy at the TSA was like, "Yeah, actually, I like to go plant fake prints up there at trailheads and stuff." And that's when, so that's why you really got to wonder about things, especially from the people who sign off on them and the people, and if they have a history of like a track history of like, hey, I could be wrong, or I was wrong about this, or maybe this Bosberg thing wasn't as legitimate as I thought it was, or something.
Yeah.
Because Grover Krantz, like I say, he's like supposed to be the pinnacle of pinnacles in this subject, but yet he's signing off on stuff he shouldn't sign off on.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that these guys can't be fooled. Anybody can be fooled, but I just don't know. And when it comes to that type of thing, I still fall back on the, I just don't see how it's probable. Yeah, can you say it's possible? Sure. A lot of things are possible. Although I will always say that I don't agree with the anything is possible thing because there are certainly some things that are impossible.
Well, if Bigfoot's out there, they're leaving prints
probable
somewhere.
that every single Bigfoot track has been faked? Is it probable? I just don't see it that way. Some of them, yeah, I'm absolutely positive that they have been faked. But I just don't think that every single one of them, especially some that are found. And I know what you were saying, Brent, about, some of these people might fake something, not just to be there, but for the most part, hoaxers, when they hoax something, They want instant gratification. They want to know somebody's going to see.
Yeah, they're
Be
narcissists.
fooled by their hoax. But some of these footprints that are found, or trackways even that are found in such remote places, it would be like just stupid just to like try to hoax something because nobody may ever see it, right? You know, I mean, so
Oh
I
yeah,
don't.
I'm not saying that all tracks are fake.
Oh,
What I'm saying is
I
just
didn't
like
mean to. I didn't mean to
yeah, yeah,
apply that.
yeah. It's just got to be careful, especially when they're strategically planted. Of like, oh wow, that's convenient.
Mhm.
Like the most elusive creature on the planet is like giving me a nice little trackway to
Yeah,
right next to the road. It's like, I'm gonna think
yeah,
twice about that one.
yeah, yeah. Hello, Jonathan.
What's up, man?
Well, hello there. How you guys doing?
All right,
Doing
how are
good.
you, man?
Joining the
Hey,
party.
Jonathan.
Hey, what's up, Trackway? How you doing? Brant?
Oh,
What's up, man?
Hello. What's going on? How you guys been?
Good.
Good.
How's things going for you?
I just got back from northern Maine. Took my son up there for a 1 week fishing trip
Nice.
to a camp up on a trout pond. Had a great time.
That's what it's
Awesome.
all about right there.
Had a real good time. Good father-son experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking the kids up on Sunday. I'm taking them up to the ice caves and not going in them or anything, but just
Right on.
nice little fun outing and stuff. It's
Yeah.
good. Finally, the
Ice
weather's
skating?
here is good enough for it.
Were
So
you
still
camping?
have ice
Camping
up
or
that way?
Yeah, it's like a year long. It's not really so much a glacier, so much more of a repeated avalanche area that got a lot of snow packed into it. And
yeah.
it's the way it drains out, it's not it becomes an ice cave. And yeah, it's there pretty
Wow.
much year round. It was the area was hard to get to because they removed a bridge for just because it was getting washed out. So they removed
Mhm.
that, which made it really treacherous to get to.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to go there, but yeah,
Well,
it's just
sounds
fun.
pretty cool.
Yeah, getting out there with the kids and that's the special time there. That's
Yeah,
the
get
fun
some
stuff.
fresh air.
Yeah.
so? Were you camping, tent camping, Jonathan, or were you guys staying in a cabin?
It was an old hunting camp. It was a little more run down than I thought it was going to be, but it was fine for me. My son was a little taken back. It didn't have a shower. When we got off the plane and when he came back off onto the dock, I just looked at his face and I'm like, oh boy. But he settled in all right, and we caught a lot of trout, so that helped.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah, he
matters. Yeah.
caught 31 and I caught 25.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a good time, man.
That's a hell of a trout dinner there.
Yeah, and we got ousted one good hard day. I was trying to look at the pictures. I think I was telling Trackway Donald about the rain that we had because I know he lives up north, and I thought maybe it was close to that. I haven't looked at the weather reports how it came in. How you doing, Leon? And so it was like Sunday night. It would have been Sunday night into Monday, and it started late in the evening. We got up in the morning. It was just a steady downpour, like you would have a thunderstorm, like pellets of water making bubbles. And I thought, well, this will just settle down and we can get the raincoat on, go out and go fishing. But it didn't all day. It just kept coming down all night long. And Dylan said he woke up like 5:30 in the morning and said, Dad, it was still coming down just hard as yesterday. And I've got some pictures where the water was just kissing the 2x6. That's, your floor joists were made out of 2x6 and they have plywood, and that's the floor of the camp.
Yeah.
And the whole place tilts towards the lake a little. So, the kitchen wasn't any more than that far from water coming up into our kitchen. Probably would have put the gas refrigerator out, which would have been, would have put a damper on our food for sure.
Yeah.
We had to switch over to eating brook trout and really hope that they kept biting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any strange noises at night or?
I was so hopeful. And because I knew it was going to be like 90 cents a pound overweight for the plane ride in, that I was debating on whether to bring in a bunch of equipment, and plus I didn't want to turn my son's fishing trip with dad into a
Right.
Bigfoot mission.
Right, I get
Yeah,
you.
yeah, you gotta watch out for that.
But you know, my I had to bring it, so it all came. And I didn't bring the parabolic, but I did bring my packs and all my small stuff and my cameras in the Pelican boxes. And I was like blown away that I wasn't even hearing. I don't think I ever even heard one owl.
Really?
Or if there's an owl sound that I'm not familiar with, there was one screech, but it wasn't even dark. And I'm not sure what that was.
Mhm.
I didn't have a bird app on it or anything. I never heard any coyotes. And I was out on the end of that dock at least half of the evenings with my thermal on a tripod, scanning the shoreline for a good hour and a half, 2 hours after Dylan went to bed. I ran an audio recorder from the time I got there, faithfully. At least one of the recorders were running 24/7 all the way until about 2 hours before the plane was to pick us up. And finally I was like, well, if something crazy happens and I don't record it, then I guess that'll be that. But
Yeah.
I have to go back and listen to them recordings, from like 11:30 through till waking up in the morning. So if anything happened then, oh, well, I guess I'll hear that when I put it on spectrogram. But
Yeah.
I haven't had the chance to do that yet. But my ears never heard anything of, not even normal sounds. I did get to see I think, one stellar jay, which I'm not used to seeing. Dylan said it looked just like a blue jay, but it was very, very dark. And I remember Leslie, the Bird Nerds channels, was talking about starling. I think they're called starling or starling jays. They're kind of like our blue jays that we have here in New York.
Well, we have starlings up here too, though.
It is like a blue jay. It's just very dark. I think they have them up there in Canada and stuff.
Yeah.
But, we had a family of 5 red squirrels. They were pretty cool. A bit too friendly, but we didn't get into feeding them too much because I don't want them getting in my food and all my stuff.
Right.
Snakes. We had garter snakes out by the dock. Bullfrogs. There was a couple big old bullfrogs. And we had one situation that I'm putting a video together with, but after going in, following up onto it, I found what I do believe to have been a moose trackway. And the reason why that started, it wasn't even dark yet. I had my thermal camera out there. Dylan heard a tree go down, which, hey, trees go down, whatever. But I'm like, well, let me grab the thermal, run out on the dock. I get up there and I had it on black hot, and these rocks were lit up black like normal. And I'm looking and I see this dark spot and I'm watching it, but it's not moving. It's not very big, but it's kind of elevated up a bit. And knowing how thick it was over there, it was just, keep my eye on it. And then I'm standing still and it just kind of dissipated to nothing. And so I yelled to Dylan and said, hey, D, I said, this might be something. I'm like, this just kind of dissipated. So he was sitting at the picnic table. He got up to start coming out and he goes, well, what is it? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And while I was saying that, it just started really getting bigger. It was in like a C shape, like a upside down C shape. So it had a hump to it. And it just literally started, but I couldn't make out a head, couldn't make out legs. It had to bend the back of something if it was. And that's when I said to him, I'm like, Dylan, hurry up, get out here. I'm like, it is something. I'm like, this thing's getting big. So I had to, of course, my FLIR doesn't record video. So, well, it doesn't because I don't have the right equipment and haven't gotten the right equipment to do so. Not, it does come with a cord to do so. I got my iPhone, got it up to the thermal, got very lucky right off the bat because it focused very quickly. And he's standing behind me looking at it. And luckily, the whole thing moved right while he was looking at it, too. And I'm like, look at that. He's like, Dad, that's a bear, a moose, or something. He gets all excited. And then he was seeing, because I've looked through the thermal quite frequently, I could understand the different shades in the different conifer trees and how well they light and how well they don't. And he started saying, "Oh, that's a moose. You can see the horns down low." And I didn't want to start explaining to him that I didn't think it was. I said, "Okay, yeah, I see where you're talking about. I'm just literally trying to keep perfectly still so I don't lose whatever it is in case this thing does expose itself and show its identity." Well, 51 years old, these shoulders that have been holding sheetrock up forever just were starting to burn really, really, really bad. Like, I'm just there and there and there. And finally, I'm like, D, I've got to let my arms down. He's like, do this, do that, da, da, da. So I end up dropping my arms, and I can't remember how I shut the video off, but I'm not kidding you. This video, which I thought was only about 5 minutes long, ended up being like 11 minutes and 16 seconds. That's the video. We thought we lost the whole works. I looked at it, I'm like, where'd the video go? Because I'm looking for a thermal image in the video, and there wasn't one. And I'm like, we lost it. I'm like, we don't have it. Like, it really isn't no big deal. But if I went over there and found plain as day human-like tracks on the ground, it might be a bigger deal. It would have been a piece to a puzzle. So I was pretty upset with myself, and I put the camera up. I am so discouraged. Dylan's in the background. I go, well, this is what happened. Dylan started laughing. He goes, that's the greatest picture I've ever seen of you. You were probably so discouraged. He's like, that's why you got to send me that. Like, oh, man. So I tried to get the camera up again, and with the 3 or 4 whatever it is, cameras on the back of that iPhone 14, I could not figure out for the life of me how to get which one to that dang thermal to get it to come back into focus. So that was a wash. We ended up over by the picnic table over there, and I'm pretty frustrated still. And he's like, there's no way you couldn't have got that. How did you shut it off? And I said, well, I think I just brought the phone down, but I think I hit the camera icon to close out the app or something. He goes, that shouldn't have done that. He practiced with his phone. I'm still looking. I'm like, there's nothing here. Well, I didn't realize that I had started the video when I was on the porch by the picnic table. So the thumbnail to the video started in the porch. I was looking for the wrong thing. And, we had a couple drinks, we had just, I had like 2 Crown Royals and ginger ale. That Dylan's drank almost 3/4 of a bottle of vodka by now. He can put them down. And it was a great moment as a father and son, because when I realized I had that video, it was way blown out of proportion. You'd think that we won the Super Bowl, man. It was hilarious, but yeah, we got the video. So the next day I go, not even the next day. I didn't want to, like I said, turn that thing into some Bigfoot show. I ended up going not the next day, the following day. And Dylan said, he goes, I know you want to go over there. Go over there. I'm like, just give me a couple hours. Let me go over there. I need to see if something went through. And I did my best, man. I mean, everything, I'm still learning from watching individuals, reading certain things, step by step. I'm learning and getting better. So I took everything that I'd learned. I'd gone over there, and I marked off some things with little red flags, and I'm looking for any blade of grass that's been pushed in the mud, bent, maybe going to spring back up, this, that, and the other thing. You folks will be able to see the video. It's actually almost done because I was doing it while I was in there. And so when I got to the embankment that we determined by him standing out on the dock, looking through the only area that we thought that we was enough clearing to get a view of it through, and thinking that, I guess we put all the pieces together in our head, and this seemed like the most likely area was where I took pictures and have video on a very clear moose track. It's about 5x5. The toes are about 1.5 inches, 3/4 each toe. It was spread a little bit. It was going up a hill from the lower swamp that I really thought that it was a bear track. And in my notebook, I actually drew a diagram of its trackway, and then I went into my tracks and scat book that I've had for quite some time. It didn't match up with the bear. The feet weren't turned in, you know, it wasn't pigeon-toed, and you know, and nothing was telling me except for the size and if I was screwing up the gait. But once I got up onto the bank and saw a split-toed tracks up there, and I was like, all right, you know, maybe this was a moose. I can't prove nothing. A moose could have come back through there a week earlier, could have come through the night later. All of that is just simply going to be, hey, look, this is what happened. I did the best that I can. This is all I got. But it was fun. No.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it's kind of all about, and
No.
you're going through the process of the investigation, and that's the important thing that people really need to
Practice.
take away from this.
No.
Is you're going through that process. You could easily just been like throwing it up there, be like, "Oh, check out this Bigfoot" or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Easily, dude.
No.
But no, you're not. At which you could have got you more attention, more likes, more views, and all that stuff. But
Right.
you're not
Yeah.
doing that, and that's the important thing. Is you know, your type of investigation and the way that you're doing it is something that is really beneficial for this subject, and why I always recommend,
Well,
you
that's
know, like you're
cool.
one of the handful of people that I was like, hey, check this
I
guy out, 'cause
appreciate that.
he's doing the actual legitimate boots on the ground, because you know we all have different parts and stuff
Yeah.
in the subject, but like you and Matt and just a bunch of other people are like
Right
out
on.
there doing great job for other people to kind of mold themselves after. So kudos to you.
I hope in like,
like
if as long as I stick with it, I hope in maybe 3 years I could maybe say I'm doing a great job. I've
Yeah.
learned
think we
in
can
the
do it.
last year, I've realized at the rapid pace of learning things that even a year ago when I thought, boy, I think I got this now, it only took 3 months to be like, oh, you idiot, boy, you would have
Yeah.
screwed that up.
It's a process.
I
It's a
think
you
you're
didn't
doing
know
process.
well,
that. Oh,
Jonathan.
you didn't know that. So now I've kind of like really pulled back and said, boy, I just got a lot to learn, man. Like, no matter whether I think I know what I'm doing or not, there's levels to every. It's like a Christmas tree, you know. I mean, you don't start at the top, man. You know, the tree grows from the bottom in branches, and there's you get more professional at the tips of the branches. There's a lot of feeder branches, a lot of knowledge that needs to be gained to get to the top. So
Nope.
I don't want to meddle. I just want to do a good job, and I've got a lot of projects and stuff that are half put together. But as long as I'm learning, I'd rather put them out when they're right.
Yeah.
I-
Well, you know, I think you're doing good, man. I appreciate the honesty. You know, that's why I latched on to you and your channel when I saw and came across you, and when we met that time.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, you know, I appreciate the honesty of it, because, you know, like Brett said, yeah, you could have easily gotten some kind of thermal and put it up, and there had been plenty of people out there. Oh my God, Sasquatch Wizards Adirondacks. He's
You'd
catching
be on
Sasquatch
Sasquatch Chronicles and
and
Oh,
you could have
boy.
easily
do
done
all that
but
stuff.
I
Yeah.
like the honesty of it. That you're like, well, I'm not sure. This
Yeah,
is the
right.
investigation that I did, and guess what? I think it was a moose. You know, I
Yeah.
liked it. I like that honesty, because you know what?
Right.
Someday maybe it's not going to be a moose.
Maybe
Maybe someday it will be
someday.
a Sasquatch.
You know, in doing this, like I told Tactical Research, you know, you
Mike,
don't have anybody out there to
he's
mentor
very
you.
good. Yeah.
You know, finding somebody that would mentor you through some of the
Mm-hmm.
growing pains you go through. You know, my biggest growing pain there just a little bit ago was audio, and not realizing, you know, how you're holding the mic and how the mics are operating, how they can really throw in some stuff that ain't there.
Right.
And, you know, it's just, or moving the microphone. How acoustics work is, video is easy. Acoustic is like its own new level. And that was in talking with Mike about it. It'd be so great if you could find somebody close to you that can help mentor you through it, short of, you know, taking classes and whatnot.
I'm not an expert in audio. I mean, I know enough about it now to, I can operate my own equipment.
Mhm.
And yeah, I've learned some do's and don'ts with the audio recorder. Although I had all my stuff packed up into my research bag and pissed off one day and pulled out of my driveway and drove completely over it and shattered the screen on my H4 Zoom, shattered the screen on one of my DVTs. I don't know if I've destroyed my gimbal. What else have I figured out? I bent one of my pens.
I think
I ruined some equipment, but you know what screwed me up big time, and I think I did a video to try to tell somebody. Maybe I didn't, so I would say it right now, and it's so elementary. So I got that H4 Zoom recorder in the first spring. I got it so that I could start doing some work with Tree Breaks Decoded and have a good audio. And I just out of the box, here's working. Well, the recording level on your recorder on the DVTs, it's just high, medium, or high, medium, low. And I just naturally went to high because I didn't know what it meant. I was just like, well, I want to get the most out of it, so I'll go to high. I didn't go look and find out what it was. And then the recordings from them audio recorders were always really good, almost like they need, no wind. You couldn't have nothing going on, but it picked up really well. So I get the Zoom recorder, and on that, the side of it, there's a button to adjust it all the way up to 100, I think, or all the way down to 0. I do believe that's correct. But it's apparently a good healthy spot is somewhere around 70, 75, your recording level, so that you don't start clipping depending on what you're trying to record. If you're trying to record a howl from a long distance and you have no wind, you might want that recording level right up there. If you have no ambient noise and you want to pick that up real well, you might, and it's a long ways away, you might want it higher. But for general uses, you want it somewhere around, 65 to 75. Well, I had it on 21 or 27. I could never figure out why every time I listened back to whatever it was, I thought it was my headphones. And until I went up with my brother Kylan back a month or so ago because I'm not allowed to have a gun in the woods, because I got to deal with, I got a felony for selling some pot. And it sucks. It was a bad decision in life, and I regret it deeply and very deeply. But anyway, I'm hoping that I can go get that taken care of so I can get back in the woods and go hunting and do the things I want. So I needed my brother Kylan, who had a pistol permit, to go up into the woods with me because audio drop and walkout needed more. And what it needed was I wanted to try to have some comparisons to the percussive sound that I heard that night. Was it a pistol or a 22 with a trapper up in the woods at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night? Way up where really nobody should have been, but I was there when I was a kid. Shoot a raccoon, shoot a fisher that I had in a trap line. So that was one of the scenarios I thought could have made that loud of a noise in that situation. So we set up recorders up there, and then I videotaped him firing a 308, a 9mm hand pistol, and a 22 long rifle. And then we recorded it with my Zoom recorder in one area, my DVT right exactly where I was at. And then I also had a recorder right with me on scene, and I videotaped it, and that's going to be part of that. Once I am done with the spectral analysis and not just reading one scientific paper on, deciphering gunshot fires, shots. So
It's like all the funny rabbit holes that our investigation will take us down, like the studies that we have to learn. Like how you're doing gunshots and stuff like that. And are you still there? Are you? Oh, I thought you're frozen, Leon. Haven't said much. Hi.
He's
I would.
waiting to jump in.
My mic's
I-
was off. I've just been listening anyways. And I got on here and thought I should have just stayed off and just kept listening. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, we like
There
seeing
you
you
go.
both.
How you been, Leon?
well, I progressed from cane yesterday to walking stick, so that's a bonus.
Good for
There you
you.
go.
Nice.
Helps with my positioning because you notice
Good.
I'm leaning forward. That's from walker.
Okay.
I'm using cane.
All right.
So
yeah,
now walking
yeah.
sticks should help my back get arched because it's a slow process that I'm in. But no, I was listening to you guys earlier and I just thought it's so refreshing. Like, I keep talking about this crest and this change. And that was prior to this last couple of weeks where the crest has already come. You guys are already here. You're already doing what's supposed to be done. So, or doing. And
Yeah.
I can move on to the things I want to do now. And it's great. So, and
Good
I think
for you,
everyone
man.
should I agree with Joe, Brent, and myself, Leon at the bottom about you, John. I think, the nice thing about it is, when you come across channels that are like your channel, the people that are like-minded get you. It's not that you know everything that you don't know everything, but you're a hell of an honest guy in the process. That's all we're asking for, is a hell of an honest approach and not to worry about being wrong. You guys were kind of talking about Grover Krantz there a couple of while ago, and he made mistakes and stuff. The whole scientific method is about making mistakes. It's not about not making mistakes.
Right.
And we learn
That's
from the
admitting
mistakes,
to 'em.
and that's the
You gotta admit to
Yeah.
them though too when you make them.
well, yeah. But if you don't know at the time, and science always moves slowly forward, and so depending on the season you're in, the culture, in the time you're in, there's a biasness, confirmation bias of whatever the ideologies are, and that's why it takes so long to change any system, is because it's I've been doing this for 7 years behind the scenes. You guys, well, some of you have a rough idea of what I've been doing, but you don't have the full picture of what I'm doing, and nor do you to this day. But the nice thing is everything I've been hoping for and the markers that you guys did, I'm not claiming any of this. I just knew it was out, the potential was out there. Give those guys the freedom, the soil to do what they need to do. They will do it. And that's good education. And so I get to move to the next part and, stop this frivolous childlike ability. The Trackway listened to you earlier tonight too. I just thought, there's just sanity across the board here tonight. This is not Nuttyville. This isn't speculation of, not, apophenia up here. The ideas of Sasquatch. This is 4 guys talking about what they think is going on, and you're legit. Joe, I think you mentioned about the Honey Badger Network. I shouldn't have mentioned that on Jeff's channel the other day because people have been asking me, join that Honey Badger Network. Whoa. I'm still working on the logistics of the whole thing. But what's that?
The Honey Badger Network? Is that a channel
Badger
or something?
Well, the reason why was when I came online and Brent came online, when we first came online, there was no distinction. It was just this communal narration of Sasquatch. You couldn't tell if the things were always certain things you could tell because if it's on TV, it's entertainment, right?
Right.
But if you're on and you're just like your average Joe, since this is his show, and you come online like you have done, John, you're curious about the topic to the point where you want to investigate whatever that topic is. Then you come online to see these channels. And it's taken a while to sift through, or for the idea to sift through that maybe we're missing something. And not only that, maybe we shouldn't be trusting as gullibly and quickly what's the claims have been.
Yeah.
And I think the nice thing that I'm
Exactly.
thinking about is there's not much that other side can do anymore because the infiltration has already happened. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys heard this yet, but the Wagner group in Ukraine have turned on the Russians because Putin just bombed a whole whack of, and so now Wagner is going to have a civil war with Gorbachev. Gorbachev. No, Putin.
Gorbachev.
Sorry.
That's old.
Putin, yeah.
Lord, man. Yeah. But and that's the thing is when you see The problem with these LARPers or any kind of system that has to do with not having or pseudoscience ideology, you could call it, is once the factual tracks start coming out, and that's an ideological mentality, it starts sifting like water through sand. Yeah. The sand is the pseudoscience. The sifting is clarity. There's something wrong here. So the foundation eventually just starts crumbling. And that's what I'm enjoying watching over especially the last year, of the idea that people are getting what we're saying. And I know it's not the people that's the problem. It's the bad system that's the problem. And the ideologies that people have just been, because they're trusting and curious about people who put on a camera in front of their faces. Because in my dad generation, we always thought, oh, it'd be great to have our own channel. Now we can. You can produce videos with the same quality that not in the 90s it would have taken a whole crew of production people to do, and now we have apps for it all the time. They got 3D print. We can do 3D scans. You, my God, John, you could do 3D scans? Yes, why yes.
Trackway can. I'm still working on the 3D scan, but
and you can print from them too.
Yeah, and I mean, but the nice thing is,
I bought a good color
I don't
printer.
care what the ideas or the experiments are. Is I can at least trust you guys that you're not like Brent uses LARPing. I use stupidity instead of LARPing. Trying to make people think that what you're saying is any factual evidence.
Right.
You guys don't have any factual evidence, but I know you're honest about not having any factual evidence. That's making me want to support you when I'm on a different channel. Say, like John, I've mentioned you a few times on different channels and stuff, because I don't have a problem with dispensing the reward. Like it's not my reward. It's really about us all.
I understand completely what you're saying. I've got a question for you, Leon.
No, great.
And I thought about this before. And I don't know if you, and by all means, I mean, don't, I guess the only term I know, I'm not super with vocabulary, but don't let the cat out of the bag if you're still working on it. But I understand from the outside looking in that you're working really hard on something. And you had spoken that phase one, you're kind of established communication with individuals to get this rolling so that people have like you've planted a seed. Be honest, use good tactics and good ethics and be honest and okay. But I understand what you're saying, that you're looking to move on. What is your ultimate? Do you have like a finish line? What is your ultimate goal in the subject Sasquatch Bigfoot? I've heard you say you want to see one. I know that, but you're working on something different.
I think that's a good question for everybody here.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it is, I mean, for myself, it's mixed. I've found that I, in the woods, am super infatuated with finding if these creatures are real. And no offense to anybody that's seen one or believes that they've seen something they can't explain. I'm not saying that I even think that they're absolutely not real. And I'm not saying that I do believe that they're real.
The word "if" isn't an
evil word. I believe that I want to see the footprint that they're leaving in the forest, and that's kind of my thing. And it's grown from a small idea of tree breaks, bends, glyphs, and all this crap to any manipulation of any sort. Is it 30 foot up in the trees? Are they traveling right through the trees? I'm going in the trees. I'm in the hemlock trees. I'm looking for worn spots on branches where they might be swinging from but do I even understand how big they are? So that's my thing. But what's your goals, Leon?
Well, because I look at life as systems, I study systems. I'm on the spectrum. I can't help but look at things layered. And I don't see I don't see what's different in the Bigfoot community compared to any other channel or what's happening in our culture. And that is the inflow of so much information that we're confused and fatigued because we don't know how to sift valid stuff. I find Bigfoot is helpful, A, because one of the things you guys do that I recommend to my clients is go out and spend a night by yourself in the bush. That is terrifying for people because people are not secure in themselves to know that you're probably okay, you guys. You probably are, you know, compared to what's going on in your 5.5 skull of jelly in your head, this rumination of negative thoughts with emotions attached that you feel internally of non-constant judgment, accusation, negative declaration, and guilt that you carry. It's bullshit. Those are executive functions. So if I can teach you via the idea of Sasquatch about rationally looking through things, so there's payoff loops that you guys already get automatically. Like when you're talking about learning all these things, or Brent saying you have to broaden your educational system. Well, because you have to do that normally. Life is complicated. You don't have to. I don't have to tell you, John, because you've been through some pretty complicated scenarios in your life, and you can tell that a lot of things online. This is what you're seeing is, if I'm honest, and people can hate me all you want, but this is an observation from a neutral, objective positioning. The mentality that seems to be online, not specifically talking about what we've come up as channels, because we've kind of moved a bit farther down, that is very low resolutional capacity. And that means that a lot of people are junior high thinkers. They're not even young adult thinkers. We're moving a bit more up to the young adult thinkers. That's between 24. That's when your frontal cortex is developed finally at 24. That's why we have the capacity to look at things and say, wait a second, there's something up here. If you don't have that capacity yet in your thinking, then there's a delay. So I am using, like I do with every topic I do and study and research I do, to better myself. So I go outside in the bush. Why? Because I'm terrified about being in the bush. Even though I worked in forestry, was raised in the bush, but that was a few years ago. So I had to reintroduce myself to my own fear.
Yeah.
And in that, I get to learn what I'm afraid of instead of running about being run by fear my whole life. I don't want to have my life run by anxiety and fear, and nor do I want you to, guys. And I don't think you guys and gals, and nor do I think you should. I think there's something afoot going on. I also want to find I love mystery. And I'll tell you, if you're curious about a topic and you love mystery and you start plugging into shows that's just garbage narration or belief systems, and if you've come out of a belief system that was traditionally your family belief system and there was much allegiance to the sacred cows, John, all of us have always been lawyers. And you, as our son, are going to be a lawyer. But I want to be a ballerina. We don't have ballerinas in our family. We have lawyers, right? But I want to be a ballerina, right? So you have to adapt, compromise, bow the knee to the system of your family so that you keep up the tradition of the family. It's not your tradition, it's their tradition. And so what's happened when I see a bigger perspective, because I always view everything when I'm watching online, it's all about, again, the way my brain's wired, objectively observing patterns.
Okay.
And I've said this to Brent. I mean, where Brent was when he first started was, I hate these losers. I would throw in about 50 flowery metaphors, but he knows that's not effective. He's learning to be effective now. It's taking time for himself to be effective because he doesn't want to be a bit of a little bastard, and nor do I, because I'm 59 and he's a young spring chicken of probably in his 30s. I don't know how old you are actually, Brent, but
44.
And so when you're looking at the Bigfoot topic, you know, what's great about you guys, and I include you, Trackway, even though I can't see you, is you guys are higher up the low resolutional ability. So I would call you low resolutional ability. I would call you high resolutional ability. And that's where we need to grow up to.
4K,
and because if you
baby.
don't do that, you can't be fair, and nor can you admit that you're wrong. So Grover Krantz, in his day, in his era, he was an expertise on certain things, but he certainly was an expertise on identifying tracks and knowing tracks.
Okay.
And I think that's the key part. And that's why we're all saying you have to do, like you said, it's a Christmas tree approach. At the beginning, you think it's the Christmas star at the top and you move down.
Yeah, that's it. As long as you're up there, you're all right.
And then once you start climbing at the bottom of the tree, you start realizing, man, there's a lot of stuff I got to know. Now, that's making you solid, whether you know that or not. When you start learning other things, you're spending time in the bush by yourself, smartly and wisely. You're learning about pulling yourself together. You're learning about what you can trust and what you can't trust. Most adults can't trust what they see and what they feel because they're too scared. And you have to be put in practicum opportunities where you get a chance to feel awkward, uncomfortable, scared. So you learn to regulate emotionally your own system. And that's called metacognition. I hear my thinking as I think it, feel my feelings as I feel it, experience my emotions as I'm experiencing it, as an active observer of my condition. Not be stuck, this is the junior high mentality, in my brain with my feelings and my emotions. Two different states. You guys catch that one, I think I just said, right? And
I'll have to listen to it about 85 times, but I will. And I will try to understand that.
Every time you go into the bush, every time, and like Trekwa, I think it was you that was said this, was when you're in the bush, there's a feedback loop. Just throw Sasquatch over on the shelf over here behind me and realize that just by being by yourself in the bush, there's a feedback loop, especially if you haven't been in the bush for a long time. Because the last time you were ever by yourself is when you were a little kid. And you either playing games outside in the dark night or whatever like that, and you're hiding behind a plant because you're playing hide and go seek or whatever, or you're under your bed, whatever. But when you feel that loneliness, that isolation come in, this is why people project onto it's Sasquatch, because they're afraid. They don't realize there's a file that opened a long time ago, and they're like, they can go and investigate to check. Right? And what you guys are doing, and again, I didn't come into the Bigfoot scene to join the Bigfoot system because there's systems I can trust. And this one, when I walked into, I couldn't trust. I thought I could. That's my curiosity with my, my open, trusting regulator I have. But I quickly found out, like Brent, wait a second, there's something wrong here. I expect, and we have a terrible tendency of doing this, of projecting onto people what we feel we're like. If when I did that talk in Merritt, I asked the whole audience, and there was over 300 people there. I would like you to put up your hand if you feel that you're fairly honest. Everyone, of course, put up their hand. Do you feel like you're fairly sincere? Put up your hand. Yeah. Are you fairly intelligent? Put up your hand. Then I said that comment about it. I know your wives would probably disagree on that one, but that's fine. But I agree. I agree with every one of you, 350 people, that I believe that. And I believe that about you guys too. But the problem is when I start talking about how you can be used by people is all those things you raised your hand up make you vulnerable, because there's the people out there that are snakes. Now, we don't see them as snakes, but their alternative motive is that of snakes. And you guys aren't snakes. I don't even know who the hell you are, really. I mean, I live in British Columbia, Canada, 3,000 miles away from where you guys live. But I know you're not snakes, because I can tell by how you do things, how you articulate, how you say what you're saying, that you're honest, genuine people. I just watched you guys for an hour and a half, and I thought you're honest, genuine people. You're fucked up like the rest of us. Sorry, hope you did that. But you can at least admire. Notice I used the word admire, not self-loathe yourself, but admire your own stupidity. I, as well, can admire my own stupidity. That means you're functional human beings, even though you feel like you might be screwed up. You're much more functional than most of the population is. And that's the same with the people in the chat. A lot of the people in the chat are like that. Some of them are still at different levels, but they're still, the idea is to move that forward, that ideology forward.
Okay.
And if you looked at the panel as a person's brain. Yeah, thanks, man. If you looked at the panel, I'll try to shut up, because once you get me going, I was just counseling all day.
No, it's okay, Leon. You're on a roll, man. Go with it, because what you're saying is
everybody
gold
on the panel here. Yeah, it's our brains. So you have Brent. Brent's the part of the brain that's got a kind of suspicious regulator in it. He likes to snoop things out to make sure there's some fairness in it. Joe is the humble part of the brain. He always says, well, I'm not a very good researcher, and that's but he's genuinely caring. So that comes through with Joe's personality. And you are the how do I say it, John? You're kind of like
dark sheep of the family.
All of us have a perfect, yeah, something like that.
The dark sheep of the family.
No, you're not. You're the young professor. And all of us carry like this little professor inside ourselves. And our professors are trying to figure things out. It's not that we have the answers, but we're fair about trying to find things out to make sense. And Trackway, I can't take a read on you because I don't know you too well, but you are also fitting in that category as the reason part of the brain. Whereas you like facts. I went and saw Mike. I really like Mike. And you said, I think it was you that mentioned, it's important to have people to help kind of, not tutorial as a tutorial, but, kind of help you. But it was like not discipleship or anything like that, but, come alongside you for guidance and stuff. So that's what the brain is supposed to do, our individual brains. And you guys kind of represent that. And I'm the one who's your frontal cortex, putting you all four together. And we get to you from the emotional side and your primal side come to the front. We have this pattern. My part is to throw in this other centerpiece to put it all together as a orchestra, you could say, of rhythmatics so that you guys can keep moving forward. I need you guys. Your frontal cortex is not in charge of telling you what to do. It's to help all my tools, which is your ways of thinking and looking, to move things forward. So like what Joe said, if I ever came across one with a Sasquatch, I don't know who I would send it to. Well, maybe I'll send it to Leon, or maybe I'll send it to you, like our group. That's taken time to have trust with inside the brain of the panels that we have, the channels that we have, so that this like-minded, because we all know that every time we put stuff up on Facebook pages of Bigfoot or YouTube channels, this is an immediate attack, right? And the attack is like a virus in the system, in the body, in the community. Okay. And the problem is the way you wean out that is you put in an antibody or a vaccine, basically, that combats that. And what that is called reality. You guys don't ever underestimate that even though you might feel like you're bizarre, you guys all bring reality back to the plate. And that scent is the counteraction to the craziness. Zasky and these guys that are going on talking about all their shit and defending us and Brent, you terrible bastard, and all that kind of stuff. The only reason why they're doing that is because they know their time is limited. And the last thing those people want are eyes on them. Right. Too long. As long as they're in control of your eyes, look over here, everyone. Meanwhile, over here, I'm just giving you the bird,
Sunlight's the best disinfectant.
Yeah, totally. It's not about a group effort, and that's what's missing. These lone cat, online when it first happened, when we came online, there was it was all A personalities. So those people can say what they say. It's like news. I know there's things about, news, who do you trust? But opinion news is not the same as news. Right. If you're a reporter in news, you're bound by the code of ethics for work. But that is even now gone through the roof. And this is what bothers me now about the whole culture is we are so saturated with so much information. How do you decipher it all? Right. Well, the good thing is if you are looking fairly at your own research and you're saying, well, that's kind of strange, which is fair because it's kind of strange too, but then you find an answer for it. You start learning a personal regulator of how to interpret the data, not just in Sasquatch, in everything across the board, how you perceive yourself, how you're thinking about yourself, how you think about others. You guys are going to get me on a rant. I won't be able to shut up, so I'm going to shut up on that one. Yeah, but that's the key for me is I want to find a Sasquatch and see a Sasquatch and film a Sasquatch. I want to be freaked out by finding a Sasquatch again with my adult 59-year-old body, if it'll let me do that as I keep working on
I couldn't even imagine.
And I want to be able to scare the shit out of myself, but stay calm, regulate myself.
Yeah.
So I can take a shot. So I can take the shot. So I can whistle if it's turned away from me, and realize if you whistle, that thing might come over here. Yeah, but I've already died 9 times. So
I
and I've had
know
a
I
great
do
life,
that
so
too.
what?
I've got so many scenarios where I've like, and I've heard the people say, yeah, you think you're going to do this, and yeah, you think you're going to, but when it happens, boy, everything's gone to hell in a handbasket, and you're just
That's true.
tuck tail, run, shit
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, will I really do that? Because I keep going over, like I'm in the woods, and sometimes it's just boring as hell out there, and I'm just like, oh man, but you get, into
So
an
true.
area where you start looking around and you think, well, if it did, I've practiced with my equipment before. Like, how fast can I get my phone out? Like, how quick can I do this? And what am I gonna do? I've got my tripod in this hand with that camera. Do I want that? Do I drop the pack? I've practiced like Clint Eastwood stuff out there. Like, am I gonna drop to the ground? Am I gonna run? Should I go at a diagonal, go parallel? I've thought, should I, when I make eye contact with it, just completely don't look at it and walk completely parallel and like talk to myself and be retarded, like literally run around and be a goofball in front of this thing, thinking, would it just stand there long enough for me to just sit there and be like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? When he don't know that I just sat my camera down somewhere back there that's pointing at him and I draw his attention away. But then I'm thinking to myself, you know how much of an idiot I'm going to feel like if I get the 1 in a million chance to see a Sasquatch and I have to tell everybody I started acting like a retard walking off the mountain. So I get it, right? Yeah.
Well, and there's a bit of a flaw in that. If you practice the way you're doing it, because you're trying to get muscle memory, it's not going to work if it happens. What you want to do is every time you're in the bush and you're worried or you hear something, then do that activity, even if it's a squirrel, because what you're doing is training your body to already be in the ready position by filming a squirrel, a noise breaking, a tree breaking, instead of practicing taking your gear and trying to do it at the time, because you're using your frontal cortex. You won't have that available for you. That's the last part of the brain that's going to activate.
So what will happen if you see it? Like what in the physical, the mechanics of the mind? You just said you won't have that frontal cortex when it happens. Okay, what part of my brain is going to activate when I see something, which I hear everybody say, all of a sudden you're just looking at something that's not supposed to be there and something happens to you? What's happening up here?
And the thing is, and again, this goes back to what I originally was talking to. We are not skilled anymore to trust our system. So a lot of times you train yourself, for instance, like if I talk to people about reading the ground, they have no idea what I'm talking about, because I'm looking at my ground right now. It looks like ground. What do you mean read the ground? What is it I'm supposed to read in the ground? Well, you're supposed to be able to tell texture, coloration, because it's going to tell you whether or not there's organic or mineral underneath the ground. When you're reading a track, it's not about reading a track. It's about reading energy distribution in the ground when one force hits another force. Now, if you watch military training, what they do is they give you muscle memory reflex, right? You guys all know this stuff, right? You understand what I mean by that? Muscle memory?
I don't.
Okay, no. Muscle memory. Okay, in military training, if they did your approach, which they do in certain things, but not in training for war, they put you in war situations. So immediately you're like fight or flight or freeze kicks in. You have muscle memory attached to that, so you're on the ground. If you thought about it, you're already dead.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You don't like muscle memory. You don't think about being afraid until you're out of the event. Look at Joe's story.
So you react.
Can't put the key in the ignition. Yeah, because it's a way your body tries to.
Really,
that was the final part of my brain. Yeah, but there's the problem with also those things, because it's not just fight, flight, or freeze. It's also faint, and it's also friendship. Friendship is a really bad one. people think if I kumbaya my way through it, the thing ain't gonna kill me. And that's usually what kills them. This, you know, the idea that, oh, we're all part of nature. If you got that ideology and you use that technique, you're in big trouble.
I've been through that.
Speaking from
I
somebody who has
went
a lot
through
of
that little bit of a stage there, way in the beginning, where I thought, oh, these things are what a fascinating. You know, I mean, I like to watch Ranger Rick movies when I'm 3 years old too. I think deer look awesome. I'm fascinated by wildlife, and I thought Bigfoot. I'm like, well, isn't that just absolutely beautiful? I mean, we got this like human-like ape people up in the woods living like, you know, mom, dad, grandpa, and the little kids. Hell, they'll love me. I'll go up there and check them out, you know. But
and there you
shit,
go. Yeah, holy shit! It's not like
nowadays
grandma.
I'm thinking
and
to
grandpa.
myself, you know what, man? If those things are up there, I mean,
I don't know, man. If I have
they
an
could
opportunity,
just, you know, you run into the wrong one, you might run into one that
could have an attitude.
even
Or not
dogs
right
and
in
other
the
animals,
head.
they all have different demeanors.
Well,
And
what are
then
we?
you might get up there and you got one that's just off kilter and he's been on a rampage of just, you know, eating people or anything else in sight. I
Well,
don't think like that anymore. I pretty much just respect and pay attention to my surroundings and just
That's what
stay
you
on
gotta do
point.
right there.
And I want to learn more about the actual mechanics.
Right.
Because
So another thing is, you guys have heard me say drop these little nuggets to you periodically, and you know, Brent, when he first went out to the bush, when Brent went out to the bush, the first time he went to the bush, he's kind of familiar with the West Coast bush and stuff. But as he started moving more towards going in the bush, exploring more, he's learned about the willies. He's learning about how the willies affect him. He's learning how to regulate himself when the willies come. He's learning about, should I trust that part, or is it me or my brain? Is there something in the environment that I should that I know I should have the willies about, or is it my brain producing the willies in me because of uncertainty of a new environment? So I like doing things as tests. So what I do for myself, and I've mentioned this to people too, is help yourself get yourself in a situation that's high duress but safe. For instance, when you're camping next time by yourself, walk down the bush by yourself at nighttime, or the trail or the road. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if it's a campground or not. But especially if there's nobody there, don't bring a flashlight or anything. Just keep walking. And I can say this to you, and you'll totally know what I'm talking about if you even practice this. You just keep walking. You're going to feel pretty decent. You can see your campfire. Everything's great. You're going to come around a corner. You can't see the campfire, but you know it's still there. So you're still there, right? You just keep walking. And then what happens is you start noticing your nervous system reacting. And then you start hearing your thoughts in your head. You're thinking, start to wonder, have I gone too far? Oh, I can do this. Leland said for me to keep doing this, so I'm going to show him wrong. You're missing the point of the exercise. The exercise is you want to see what your human condition does during unknown or experiences. And in that process, what you get to do is practice. Okay, I get to see when my primal part of my brain starts hijacking my emotional part and then my cognitive part. Your cognitive part, you'll recognize it because it's in your brain as rational thinking, trying to figure out, have I gone too far? Okay, this is far enough, you know. Like, I mean, when I used to throw theme campouts at night and they were held at nighttime, I would walk down these trails in the mountains, and I'd keep walking until I got the willies, and then I walk even farther because I want that willy feeling to be in the people who are camping to come to these theme campouts that I would do, like Sleepy Hollow, and so that they're already peaked. I already know they're peaked. I'm controlling them. They don't realize I'm controlling them because I want to take them down a path to a part at nighttime in the middle of the bush, which I know is going to make their body into primal, and they're going to get nervous in that system. And so that's the same exercise I'm asking people to do. Again, just start off, if you're not familiar with the bush, and don't do it unsafely, but you go camp by yourself. Just be by yourself for a day. See how awkward that is. You guys will be a little different than most people.
And make sure you wear safety glasses.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, totally.
I've done that challenge twice now, Leon. Both times actually. Matt and our scientist friend that is partners with Matt. I mean, not Matt, Mike. I'm sorry, with Mike from Tactical Bigfoot. Both times were with him, those two guys, and the first time we did have a campfire, And I did exactly what you said. I got down the road. Of course, my dog was with me for a little bit. She decided to turn around and go back to those guys, which hadn't realized she'd gone at first, because all I had with me was, I did have my little night vision scope, but I didn't have any flashlights or nothing. And I got, well, okay, the campfire's there, and I got away, lost sight of the campfire, and I'm okay still. I'm looking around, and I'm seeing if anything comes up in the night vision scope, and I'm getting a little bit, but I finally got to that point to where, okay, now I'm a little too far away. And then that's the Willie part that did. And then I realized my dog's not even here. And so, yeah, back I went, man, because the Willie part got to me. And I was like, I couldn't go. It was almost like a physical barrier. I could not make myself go forward any further,
Was it completely black, dark, or was there enough ambient light? So let's see, you wouldn't walk into a tree and just poof.
There was probably starlight, but no, it was pretty damn dark. I mean, I couldn't, just with my eyesight alone, I could not see into the trees or anything like that.
Yeah, that's dangerous. You're gonna poke your eye out.
Yeah. So, but fortunately, I mean, that time I was walking down. The first time I did it, I was walking down the road.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too worried about running in and poking my eyes, but because I was walking down the road. The second time was with Mike. We didn't have a campfire. We were just in the middle. We went out to this place that they knew of, and nearby here, and they were set up with the with the thermals and stuff like that. Across this field, and it was all surrounded by trees, but it was a huge field there.
Yeah.
And I decided to go walking back down the way we came in, and again did it just totally in the dark.
Yeah.
And again, I got into it, and what it was that there was this one spot where the trees were like really close to the trail. I mean,
yeah, that gets you.
I get into this really dark,
hell yeah,
creepy area of the trees.
Yeah.
Now I'm really pretty far away from my and
I don't like the hills that are just about like neck height.
Well, the second time, then of course,
get the hell out of there.
I hear a snap. And that's boom, that triggered, and I'm like, okay, I'm not, nope. I'm I don't know what, it could have been a squirrel made that snap, or any animal. Right? Could have been a bunny rabbit for all I know, but all I knew was that, the primal party of brain is going, but what if it's a monster? And so, back I went, but yeah, it's an interesting little experiment to do, man, just to see how far you can press yourself.
So Leon, I'm going to press myself until I get butterflies in my stomach. And then once that happens, I push it. I get done with that. What is my thinking? What's my exercise after? Push it harder next time, or sit down and think about it?
You're not. No, you're still trying to control it. I can tell. Just
okay.
saying,
all right.
I'm going to just control my butterflies in my stomach. No, what you want to do is you want to walk until you notice a primal shift.
Okay.
And that primal shift is this primal shift that our ancestors lived in for hundreds of thousands of years. That's where your body goes. It's like going back in time. And so when you're going through it, that's just one type of exercise. It kind of reminds me when you asked me about, well, Leon, I tried that moose excavation on the track and it didn't work out. Yeah, well, it depends what type of snow it is, what the weather conditions are, and a few other things too. But that was
it might have worked though. I can show you guys sometimes that might have worked, Leon. You taught it actually well, because I went back and watched your video and I was like, oh shoot, I actually think I had it. And then I destroyed it, but I may have gotten far enough before I realized it. And then on the video, you may be able to look at it and go, oh, right there it is. Just back up. You got 10 seconds before you bashed it, but it was right there in front of you. So, but it's not really super
important. And don't use gloves. Don't use snow gloves when you're excavating. Use your fingers.
Okay.
Don't use gloves.
I think I had them little work gloves and thin rubber work gloves.
Yeah, don't
but
use
this
those.
Is really important to me, what you were just saying. All right, so no matter how much walking around at nighttime I have done, light on, light off, no matter what. There has never been a way to get rid of, and it's always been a question in my head that I've thought about and wanted to talk about, is what is it about when it's starting to get dark? I think to myself, I have so much confidence that, well, I'm just going to stay here tonight, or camp way a mile out past the pond, out into a valley I've never been at, and I'm just going to stay there, and that'd be good. But all of a sudden, when it really starts to get dark, them willies start coming out.
May
right?
I?
But
May I?
if you can get
totally, sure.
through that in something around, it's like around, I don't know what it is, so I don't want to talk for a long time. I have a bad habit of doing this, but and within a couple hours past that point, all of that will go away. What is that? At 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, all of a sudden things quiet down a little bit, and I don't have any butterflies, and I'll walk around the woods all night long. But 2 hours after it starts to get dark, it's just before dark, 2 hours into it, and then just before daylight in the morning, it gets creepy again. What is that?
May I?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Leon, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think what you have is when you get to dusk and whatever, you have a tunnel effect that's going on. So when I walk out of the woods at night, the sunlight's going down, and that you're getting a tunneling effect similar to being underneath water. If you've ever been underwater looking up at the light, or looking up, so you're kind of like you're getting this tube type condition. And so, at that point, what you're getting is a sense of claustrophobia setting in, because the ambient light is diminishing. It's becoming more and less and less and less. And I've noticed too that, after that period of time is gone, I'm not bothered either. But it's just right at, moving in the dusk or moving in the early morning before sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I personally feel it. And I think that to me is the closest reason that I can come up with. You get this feeling of being underwater, and you're getting this tunnel effect as you're moving.
That's interesting.
Just to add on to that too, is you both, Trackway, you and John, if you think of experiences as Lego blocks, so you're not the guy that when I would say to them, look, I just want you to go to the bush and spend the night by yourself, because you guys have done that a lot. So there's the reason why, and so if you're looking at the brain doesn't know certain things that we would know. There's no history, doesn't have a timeline, just has everything in it. It's just a sponge, right? So when you have an experience where you've been out in the bush lots and lots of times, and I get it, there's a witching hour, you could call it, and this is why I'm surprised that people haven't gotten I like to get. Come on, Leon. Nick from Roscoe's Bushcraft, and I'd like to get Justin from Mountain Bush Mysteries and have an interview with them about, you guys spend days in the bush. Do you not get the willies? And let them explain that whole process. The nice thing about both you guys is you have practiced this already, just naturally, what I'm talking about. You're ahead of the game for most people who haven't practiced this, you could say. And so you know perfectly well, because you have, every time you have experiences, is like a file opens, a file about your capacity in the bush when the sun goes down. First time it was all freaked out, all this kind of stuff. But the more files you got in there of experiences, the more you became more relaxed and familiar with that atmosphere or environment. And so that first part is going to activate. That's when the sun's first going down. That's going to be where your primal brain starts to get affected by that, because that's where you start seeing, you look through the bush, and is that a bear? You can't see. So it's over heightened, you could say. That part of the brain activates a bit more. But once it goes back to darkness, then you go to other sensory perceptions that you have worked through, apparently. If there was something in that darkness that was a really bizarre sound, you're going to get peaked again. New file's going to open. What the heck's that sound? And then
Right.
as
Yeah.
time goes on, say 10 years, and you experience, oh, that sounds a porcupine having sex, which you would never think it would be, but you discover it happens to be. And I have discovered that because I got scared the hell out of by that. But that's the idea about I like being scared by ridiculous things in the bush because it gives me practicum. It might be a squirrel, but I don't know that. It's Godzilla coming through the bush at me, you know. So it's
And then the
pretty complicated.
repetition of those things happening build your
That's right.
file folder and make you better understand that
And
feeling,
relax.
so that
As
you
Caesar
can
Milan says,
still
you
get
want
a
to
hold of
learn about
yourself.
always
Okay.
learning, how to regulate yourself. And this is the problem with just in general. A lot of people have not a very good capacity of emotionally regulating themselves, especially if they're rageaholics or stuff like that. But what you're doing is what I'm suggesting, just by the walk thing, that's a different level than where you guys are at. You guys, know, I'm talking to the choir here when I'm talking about stuff. But the thing is you have an opportunity. Plus, this is what made me kind of frustrated with Ishtal when he came on the thing, because I was really hoping he's from my province. He's a hunter. He's a guide.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever hear him talking about guide information, tracking Sasquatches, all the stuff a great guide should be doing to help out move this forward. I just hear narration up here. And I was hoping he was going to be one of these other guys.
For his britches, man. He used to be a hunter.
I don't know what it is. It's
and then
not
he got
worth
in
me
and
following
followed all
him.
that, and he just got too big for his britches and got high on his whole situation. Is what his ordeal is.
If you have the opportunity to,
he's high on himself.
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity,
we've been out here for about 2 hours and 40 minutes here, and I seen a new face pop up here, and I was curious. Although I must admit I was a little hesitant about bringing him on because when I read the handle there, but we got a new face here. You want to tell us who you are, and are you a Bigfoot enthusiast or?
I'm the braggart. Wesley Lawrence Curry's a second. I'm in Huntington, West Virginia. Hi.
How you doing?
Hey,
welcome.
I'm okay. In general, I guess I'm okay. A little afflicted, but holding up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
good to meet you.
Do you have I mean, obviously you've come to my channel for some reason, and so you must be at least interested in the topic of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Have you delved into it much?
I saw the word written there in your channel, atheist. So that's why I jumped in.
Bigfoot atheist.
Nice,
yeah.
good, awesome. Yeah. we like
atheists
here.
I don't cover too much of that side of it, but yeah, there's a whole backstory to that because I am, when it comes to in general about religion, I am an atheist. But I carry that over more or less the atheist mind think of I need evidence before I'm going to believe something. So although I don't deny that there is some kind of big hairy hominin that's out there, I need evidence for all the other crap online that I'm seeing that I'm not being provided evidence for of the narratives. And that's where that part comes in, the Bigfoot atheist.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be able to speak about Bigfoot. I was hoping that some news about future events might interest you. They're terrible things. The one world order, the way the nuke thing will happen, specifically. Not
it's
missing it.
mostly
But I
Bigfoot stuff.
I will go on and on about it if that's not your subject.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, it was nice to meet you. I'm sorry that it was kind of a mislead for you when you saw the atheist part, but I was hoping the Bigfoot.
We've been giving him crap about that name,
but yeah,
teasing him, trolling him ever since he changed it.
Yeah, that's okay.
we got a bet going on how quickly he'll change it back.
Oh,
just kidding about that one. I wanted to, but nobody would take me up.
It's a done deal now, Brent. It's a done deal. So, but. Look, I appreciate all you guys coming on the show and helping me out with it tonight. And this has been a great conversation, man, for me.
Yes, sir.
I always love talking to you guys, and I like finding out what you guys, because I'm watching you, I'm watching Trackway stuff. I'm watching John's stuff. I'm watching Brent, and and I watch what Leon puts out. And Jerry's been doing some pretty good from the Hook Loss crew. He's
Yeah,
been
he
doing some
has.
pretty good videos on various topics pertaining
I
to the
like
whole
that. I
Bigfoot
like that a lot.
subject, and so you should be watching those too, man. Those. And but you guys are always great, and I appreciate it, every single one of you, for popping in here. And the chat, the chat's the chat is, as usual, just phenomenal. They got a lot of good comments a lot of times. They have a lot of good discussions going on in the chat, and I appreciate them coming here because they could have been doing something else, but they decided to tune into this one and spend some of their valuable time with me. I love you for that. Absolutely. So, everybody, things are coming up, man. I'm gonna get back into the woods, and if I come up with anything interesting, and I know I say this all the time, but I'm gonna keep repeating it. If I come up with anything interesting, you guys will be the first ones to know about it. And hopefully, I can come up with something. And,
May I ask you a question?
Who, me?
Before you go?
Yes.
One time I was in my apartment in Wayne, West Virginia, and I was standing in my kitchen, and something walked through the front door, and it was dressed in black from head to toe, and it shocked me like a physical electric shock. And then it sort of walked away past the kitchen door, and then it seemed to actually shrink down into the footboard near the wall where the flashing is between the floor and the wall. And that happened to me. And I had seen something like that once before, dressed in head to toe from black, but it had thousands of like glass eyes or eyes from its toes to its thighs to its chest to its arms, all the way and all over it. It was nothing but a black leotard with eyeballs stuck on it. And I just wondered, I saw that. And I hope I wasn't hallucinating, but again, I kind of hope I was hallucinating because if it was real, it was very frightening. And I wondered if maybe something like that had happened to any of you.
No.
Can't say that I have.
That's like out of my wheelhouse, but there's people that you could ask about that could probably give you more information on it. I don't know. It sounds.
I saw a beautiful angel when I was a little kid. I think I was suffocating from an asthma attack, and I don't really know how it all happened, but I come to and the whole bed was shaking, and I thought I saw Stevie Nicks in the most beautiful white dress like an angel going out my bedroom window, and she looked back and smiled at me, and I was in love. But that's
I love Stevie Nicks too.
But that was all good with me, man. She was beautiful.
I would love to see Stevie.
But nothing black, dark, and scary.
I have to step out. I have to step out here. I have to step out.
Yeah, I gotta get going.
Yeah, same here. The new Star Trek episode's out. So Strange New World, folks.
Tonight? Is that tonight's, Brent?
Yeah, it's tonight. Yep, yeah. Strange New World, folks.
Yeah, my wife's been watching that. My wife's been
good, man. It's a good one. I like it. I like it a lot.
So, all right, guys. Well, you know what I always say at the end of every one of them: don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. And we shall see you soon.
Take care, everybody.
See you guys later.